Okay, vino Madonai Eloheinu Aleinu Ma'aseh Adenu Konena Aleinu Ma'aseh Adenu Koneu. I'd like to begin the shiur in Shaare Orah. Dedicate the shiur to L'ilui Nishmat Sarah Tziva Bat Dober Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'Gam Nefesh Esther Bat Victoria Reina Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'Gam Nefesh Chaya Bat Rezel Yenta Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'Gam Nefesh Uri Ben Hasiba Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden V'Gam Nefesh Sarah Rivka Bat Harav Avraham Moshe Ruach Adonai Tenechena Began Eden, Lavdir Ben Emetim L'Chaim Rufah Shema for Esther Simin Bat Sharapat, El Narafarala, El Narafarala, El Narafarala. Also Fashema for Devorah Leah Bat Yafa Liba, El Narafarala, El Narafarala, El Narafarala. Okay, so in Shaare Orah, we're in page Reish Nun Aleph in the edition of Shaare Orah that we have in the thumbnail, Reish Nun Aleph, and we're above the line in the book Rabbi Gikatilia. It says over here. וצריך אני להאיר עיניך האח חתם י' כו' יתברך שמו הגדול י' כו' יתברך באברהם אבינו בזרעו אותם שקיבלו את התורה. So he's going to say now, I'm going to enlighten your eyes. That's exactly the words he used. It's very poetic, okay? How God signed Yud Kei Vav Kei Yitbarach Shemo HaGadol. How he signs his name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is called Shemo HaGadol, his great name, right? In Avraham Avinu and with his children, that they receive the Torah. He's gonna say exactly. That's like his little introduction. Ketzad, how does this work? Amar b'Sefer Yetzirah. It says in the Sefer Yetzirah. What's the Sefer Yetzirah? The book of formation. Miuchas la'Avraham Avinu. Yes. And what does the Sefer Yetzirah talk about? The creation of the world. It talks about the letters. It talks about the phonetics. It talks about the vowels.
Sounds you make.
Sounds, how they make, what the sounds are together. Oh, look, it's an amazing sefer, okay? That's that tradition. That is correct. Karat lo brit be'eser etzbe'ot yadav. That God established a covenant with Avraham Avinu with the 10 fingers of his hands. Let's see what this means. Vezehu brit lashon. We discussed this before. What did we say? There's the brit lashon. There's the brit of the maor. Brit down below.
And then you have brit of Torah.
Correct, and that's in the lev.
Right, in the heart.
Right, so you have the brit of lashon, the brit milah, and you have the lev. Right, corresponding to the brit lashon are the 10 fingers of your hands. Same level. You have 10 sfirot.
Okay.
10 levels, right? The Brit HaMa'or also has 10 levels. What are those 10 levels? Again, we can't do splits because we're men, but at the end of the day, we understand that the feet have 10 fingers on that, 10 toes, right? That is the toes, that are the fingers that's connected to the Brit HaMa'or. Okay? That's
toes,
what.
Brit HaMa'or, fingers, Brit HaLashon.
Correct. Okay? So he says over here, when God established the covenant with Avraham Avinu, he did so with the 10 fingers. Hey, chamesh mekorot bilshon haTorah. I'm sorry, did I skip something? No. V'zeu brit lashon v'chotam, and he signed it. Yah, Yud K. Besod, in the secret. Yod eser etzbaot. Yod K. The Yod is 10 fingers. Okay, that's what this says. Now, of course, anything it says in the Sefer Yetzirah, there is no way to understand it at face value.
I tried.
Good luck.
I tried a long time ago. And I was
Good luck. So if you're confused, I'm confused too. We'll see what he says in the bottom, okay? He does, but that's an explanation. Reading it dry right out. I'm not at that level, not yet. So we have the 10 fingers, right? This Brit HaLashon, and the Chotam is Yud K. Okay? You know what he's going to say next. What's the Vav K? The Brit HaMa'or. Well, you want to get to 10 yet? No, we have to see what he's going to say. Now I'm going to guess. No, I'm not going to guess. Okay. Besod Yod Eser Etzbaot. The Yod is 10 fingers. Hey, Chamesh Mekorot Bilshon HaTorah. There are 5 sources in the language of the Torah. What does he mean by that? Besod, not Chamisha Chamzei Torah. Aleph, Het, Hey, Ayin. Those are called the guttural letters. Aleph, Het, Ayin, Hey. The way to make those letters is through the back of your throat. They're called guttural. Boom up. What's boom up? Lips. Bet, wav, because it's not a v, it's w, va, wav, right? Boom up. Mem and pay. Okay? Gichak. What's gichak? Gimel, yod, kaf, kof. All from the y. Yes. Palatal. And datlanat. Dalet, tet, lamed, nun, taf. That's all with the tongue right behind the teeth. How many different, and there's one more, zash sheraf. Zayin, shin, sin, resh, sadi. So those are 5 combinations of phonetic Hebrew, which means each one of the 22 letters divided phonetically is in 5.
Only the Yemen You're funny.
The Iraqis also, it's not just the
You're
Yemenites.
right. That's true.
I don't know that.
Mostly Yemen.
The 20 doesn't divide into 5 even.
Doesn't have to be even. Who says it has to be even?
Okay, but there are 5 categories. Of
5 categories.
Okay.
2 of them have 5, and 2 of them have, and 3 of them have 5, and 2 of them have 4. Is that the math is correct on that one? No. 4 gutturals, 4 boom up, 4 gichak, 4, 5, and 5. So it's 2 5s and 3 4s. Altogether, 22. Okay. Aleph, Het, Hey, Ayin, Bagaron. It's in the garon, in the throat. Boom up is in the sfatayim, is in the lips. Gichak is bechech, which is the palate. Datlanat balashon, tongue. Zashirat bashinaim. Okay, that's how they're divided up. So we have the garon, the throat. We have the lips. We have the palate, the hard palate. We have the tongue, and we have the teeth. All of those items are necessary for proper speech, in addition to a working brain. Buma patzvatayin gichak bechek dertanat belashon zashirat bashinayim nimtzah hotam yud k brit halashon hu brit hapeh. So we have yod, which is the 10 fingers, and we have hey. What does the hey represent? The 5 phonetic categories of the Hebrew letters. And that's why anyone wants to see how to pronounce, again, everybody pronounce the Hebrew letters the way they want, okay? And everybody's got their minhag avotenu b'yadenu. We're not arguing with that. But if you want to look at what's the original, we can say whatever people are doing now is okay, but what's the original? The original is what it says in Sefer Yetzirah.
A friend of mine, Ephraim Fumer,
Yeah.
PhD kind of guy, he told me that the original Hebrew actually sounds like the way the Brooklyn people sound. Is that true?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. What do you mean the Brooklyn?
Hear that? You know, he's a Spartan.
You mean the Syrians? The Syrians you're talking about?
No. He was saying that, sort of like the real, the Hasidic, guy.
Oh, definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely
I couldn't
not.
believe when he told me.
First of all, there's one letter that clearly is wrong. The Saf. It's wrong.
Because there would be 3 S's.
How do you know it's wrong? Based on what we just learned right now, prove to me it's wrong. And is any chassid gonna say that the Sefer Yetzirah is inauthentic? Chas v'shalom. No one's gonna say that. Why are they not gonna say that? Because Rashi brings it up in his commentary on the Gemara. So no one's gonna say the Sefer Yetzirah is inauthentic. Okay? So the taf belongs to the letters datlanat. The s sound is not datlanat. The s sound is zashirat. So therefore, you have right away a problem. the taf does not fit with the other letters that are s. Therefore, it's wrong. Just plain simple. Okay? And that goes for any Hebrew letter. If it doesn't fit within what Sefer Yetzirah says, that's not original pizza. Now, I'm not disagreeing. They can pronounce letters any way they want. They can have Chazan say it. As long as they understand what he's talking about, there's no problem. That's their tradition. I'm not arguing with anybody's tradition. But if we're going to go back and see the original, it's right here. Is it? After that, there's no more discussion. If someone wants to disagree with the Sefer Yetzirah, kol hakavod. Best of luck to you on that one. Okay. Nimsa chotam yud k brit halashon hu brit hapeh. So we see the yud k represents the yod, which is the 10, and the 5, which is the 5 phonetic combinations of the Hebrew letters. The karat lo brit ben eser etzbaot raglav. And there's also another brit that's between the 10 fingers of his feet, the 10 toes. Zeo brit milah. That's the brit milah. The chotam vav hey. And the signature that is vav hey. Let's see why. Chatzi Hashem, half the name. Besod, this is all still Sefer Yetzirah. We'll see what it says in the bottom. Besod eser etzbaot ubrit milah shu ehad. That the 10 toes and the brit milah is considered to be 1. That's 11. The heshbon yud aleph keneged vav hey. And you take a vav, you take a hey. What do you get together? You get 11. Okay. The odd sod vav hey, and there's another sod of vav hey. What's the other sod? Torah shebichtav, Torah shebe'al peh. That's the Sefer Yetzirah. Okay, now let's see if we can get some understanding of what it's talking about.
Why is it important? 10 plus 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 plus 1.
Okay.
10 fingers and 1 brit milah. Okay. Chatam Hashem Yitbarach Shmo Agadol. The signature, God signed his name, his holy name. He signed his holy name. What's he saying? On the human body. Specifically here on the male body. Okay? How is it signed? We just read it. Fingers, tongue, right? That's how he signed his name. Yud K, Vav K. Yes? Okay. Kedita b'tikunei Zohar. So he's going to explain the Sefer Yetzirah b'tikunei Zohar. Simeni kahota. No. What's the pasuk? I want to say it right. Shirashim.
Oh. So the yud is the mouth, right?
Simeni kahota malibecha. That's it. Yes? Simeni?
I thought it was.
Yud is the fingers.
Oh, yud's the fingers.
10 fingers.
That's right, 10 fingers. And the mouth is
The lashon is that now we have the mouth which has the hey, the 5 different phonetics.
And then we have the feet and we have the member. So the member is what? Is the vav?
The what? The vav is the you have 10 fingers of the toes, right? 10.
Oh,
And then the member, which is 1.
So 10 plus 1 equals 6 plus 11.
Hey. Okay.
Vav and hey is 6 and 5.
It's 6 and 5. 6 and 5 is 11.
But then 10 and 1 also is 11.
Today's tough stuff. Today's not easy today.
It's very good for you to warn me.
Put in the answer.
Remember one time when I brought you a coffee?
I won't forget it.
Everyone knows with me. You ask Ira, she'll tell you, Steve.
Simeni, okay. Simeni kahotam ala libecha, kahotam azeroechi ki aza, chama vetava, kashach ishol kin'a, reshafe arishpe shel hevetya. Okay, that's Shirashim. So simeni kahotam ala libecha. That's what the Tikkunei Zohar is going to be commenting on. V'chi man hama hotama al liba. What is the signature on the heart? What does the pasuk say? Simeni kahotam al libecha. Meaning what? There's a signature on the heart. Chotam in Hebrew is a signature. The lev is the heart. So the Shir Hashim is saying there's a signature on the heart. We got that? All right. Ela ilen tefillin. This is the tefillin. Yes, tefillin shel yad. Okay. Hadahu dichtiv, as it's written, V'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem yud kei vav kei nikra alecha v'yare'u mimeka. So the Tikkun Zohar is saying that the amei haaretz are going to see that the name of Hashem is called on you. How? With the tefillin, right? V'yare'u mimeka. What is v'yare'u mimeka? Be careful. Someone who knows Hebrew should know better. I'm going to say the pasuk again. The Yara'u mimeka.
They will be fearful of you.
That's what it means. Mecca is future.
No year.
They will. The Yara'u. They will be. The Yara'u is the future. What is mimeka as opposed to mimecha? The way you're interpreting it is mimecha, which means they will fear you. Mimeka, they will learn Yirat Shamayim from you. Let's do this again. The pasuk is, V'ra'u amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha v'yar'u mimeka. And the nations of the world will see that the name of God is called on you. Where on you? On your body. V'yar'u, and they will learn fear from you. It doesn't mean they will fear you. The goal is not for the Goyim to fear the Jewish people. The goal is for the Goyim to fear God. And the way they're going to learn how to fear God is from the Jewish people. That slight dot in the Kaf Sofit changes the meaning completely. The goal of us is to teach them Yirat Shamayim. The goal is not to have them afraid of us. They should be afraid of God. And we show them how to be afraid of God. And if they're smart, when they're afraid of God, they'll be afraid of the Jewish people too. Why? Because we're his children. You don't mess with the children of the king. That's how you get yourself into trouble.
Like in the travelers of the land were afraid of the fear of the...
Exactly. So the fear is not from you. It's they fear God. They learn fear of God from you. Then they have fear of God. And through fear of God, they're going to be afraid of you. Okay, it's just one little dot in the Kaf Sofit changes the meaning completely. Okay. Simeni kahotam da'ot brit milah. So what is the chotam? Kahotam ali. What is kahotam ali becha? Like a signature on the heart. That's the Shir HaShirim. Kahotam al libecha, like a signature on the heart. So if it's like a signature on the heart, it's not a signature on the heart. Where's the signature? And what do we know about the mouth, the heart, and the brit?
All on the same line.
Center, eyes, ears,
Toes,
nose,
ears, yes.
Right? Everything else is fingers, hand, toes. But there's the center. The nose, even though it's the center, the nares are not in the center. They're off center, right? But what's in the center? The mouth, the tongue, the heart, and the brit. That's in the center. Okay? Let's continue. Ki gavanada mi yale lanu hashamayima. It says, who will go up for us to the Shamayim? Right? Where is that said? What parasha? No, I think it's Nitzavim. Okay? Who's going to go up to the Shamayim to get the Torah for us? It says, Lo b'Shamayim hi. And also says, who's going to go up to the Shamayim? Right? Moshe went to the Shamayim to get the Torah for us, yes? And then what if Moshe didn't get it for us? We'd have to go get it ourselves. Okay? Mi yale halanu hashamayma, Rashi Tevot. What are the Rashi Tevot? and the Sofei Tevot. We did this already. Mi
Mem, Yud.
Ya'aleh Lanu Hashamayim. That's called Milah. Mi, Mem, Ya'aleh, Yod, Lanu, Lamed, Hashamayim, Hey. That's Milah. So in this 4 words, you have 2 sodot. You have 2 hints. It's not a sod, it's really remez. The first is the Rashi Tevot. The Rashi Tevot is what? Milah. Meaning, you want to learn Torah, you need to have Brit Milah. No Brit Milah, no Torah.
You said that many times.
I did say that many times. This says in the Gemara, it says in the Talmud, is there chokhmah amongst the goyim?
No.
Yes.
There is.
Yesh chokhmah bagoyim. En Torah bagoyim. It's funny, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they couldn't figure out how is it possible that we have all these people, 2.8 billion or 2.6 billion, 1.8 billion Muslims. Aren't there intellectuals amongst them? How do they not see that their entire religion's a lie?
Can't they get a Nobel Prize?
What's that? Well, the Christians get Nobel Prize. You can't make that argument. So so there's clearly smart people. So tell me, why is it?
People have ulterior motives regardless.
Okay, that's one. Very nice. Ulterior motives, correct. So someone who knows, likes to, the hierarchy is very good for the person who's in the hierarchy. Okay, what else? Why is a person connected to Christianity?
Why?
Why?
He's born
What is the connection? Is it intellectual or is it emotional?
emotional.
Emotional.
Only. Emotional.
Almost exclusively. And the ones who are intellectual, they're not so religious. Not. Because you see nonsense.
You can't really answer their.
You can't
answer their.
There's just gaping questions, right? And same thing with Islam. It's all emotion. Now, they have a little more intellect because they have the concept of one God. But you read the Quran, it's nonsense. Without the explanation, it's not. You could read the Torah and it makes sense at a pshat level. Maybe there's certain areas that look confusing. But for the most part, there's a seder, there's an order, it makes sense. Yes? You ever read the Quran?
Most of it was
It's
written by Muhammad.
completely, first of all, there's no order. There's no order. I don't think any of it was written by Muhammad. That's nonsense. That's their nonsense. Okay, but at the end of the day, there is no order. It makes no sense. It's contradictory. So what's their connection? It's emotional.
And some of these Christians, I think they walk around, they wear the big cross, and they say to themselves, all I know is there are 10 commandments, and I believe in the 10 commandments. And,
They don't, because they don't do Shabbat.
Okay, you're right.
It's not even available.
You're right.
They do on Sunday.
Shabbat is not available to them. That's correct. But what I'm trying to say is, how is it? Because they're emotionally connected, they are not using their intellect. Whereas in Judaism, you connect to God through the intellect, you connect to God through the emotion. But most of it, just look in the back of the room over here. This is not just stories. What if you go to a Muslim library and you see all the books? What are those books? A lot of them.
Oh, commentary.
It's not their stories. What a hadith? Stories that were told hundreds of years later about what he said or didn't say. It's not historical. You think that's historical? If you're writing a historical account, do you write it 200 or 300 years afterwards, or you write it within 50 years?
I read somewhere, the reason why they have Moses.
One at a time. Yeah.
The reason why they have Moses in their books is that you had guys sitting there in the marketplace, so Jews would come through, tell the story of Moses. People who believed in Christianity would come through, they tell those stories. And they
Okay, they like telling
all
stories.
their stuff.
They like telling stories. What were you going to say?
Well, complementary to that, it's also important to know the other 2 faiths, major faiths in the world, they don't deny we received the covenant in the first place. But here they expect us to believe in whatever they're pushing about their faith.
Right.
We had witnesses at our revelation moment. No one denies it happened. What witnesses did they have?
None. None. There is no religion.
Absurd. That's
There is
why-
no religion in the world that has the chutzpah to claim national revelation.
That's why it has to be emotional based. They don't have a choice. How can you intellectually, logically convince people to believe in something that no one witnessed? I can tell you I lifted a car. That's great. You're going to believe me?
And the best part about it, they filled in the blanks 300 years later.
Yeah.
That's Islam.
That's the problem.
At least the Christians, they filled in the blanks. Well,
Also 300 years later. Same
okay,
thing.
let's think about that.
Same
So
thing.
the earliest writings are from Paul, which is about 20, 30 years after the death of Jesus, okay? Then you have the Gospels, which is anywhere from 50 years to 80 years after the death of Jesus, approximately, right? And then some other ones a little bit later. The development of Christianity, which is the Trinity and that whole stuff,
Council of
that's over
Nicaea,
300
right?
years.
300 years later.
Correct. Okay. But the actual stories, okay, the stories are we have documents from the first century, from the second century, okay, which is again still late, okay, because he died and he didn't write anything down, right? As opposed to Islam, which you're talking hundreds of years later. There are no contemporaneous, there's no copy of the Quran that exists from the first Muslim century. And this book was a holy book from the time it was written, that you couldn't burn it, that you couldn't destroy it. Why don't they have any copies of the original?
Last I checked, I don't think they were the ones getting conquered left and right. So
Yeah,
you
right.
think their own scriptures?
They would have preserved their scriptures. It's not, and on top of that, their religion says that God preserved the Quran as it was intact from the time of creation. So you can't even preserve it from 620. You're going to preserve it from creation? Anyway, so
Christians didn't write anything down because they thought he was coming back next week.
that's Jesus. That's
Right,
Christianity,
Christian.
correct? Yeah. So the moral of the story is, Rak Am Chacham V'Navon Hagoy Hagadol Hazeh. That's what the Torah says. The Torah says, only this nation is wise and understanding. Which nation? Us. That's it. Everybody else is just, and again, that doesn't mean there isn't chokhmah amongst the goyim. How did I come to saying this? There's Isaac Newton, brilliant, not Jewish. There's tremendous brilliance. There's chokhmah. There's mathematical genius. Stephen Hawking. These are geniuses. So that's what the Talmud says. If you're going to say there's no chokhmah amongst the goyim, that's not correct.
Learn philosophy from other nations, but so long as you're first.
Which
You still have to meet, like you have to know Torah.
which might have gotten him into a little bit of trouble. And the problem with the Rambam is he didn't have access to the Sod until later on in his life. So he had to fill in with that massive brain of his, answering questions that the Peshat doesn't answer so well, right? So
Aristotle.
correct. And then it says that someone met him later on in life and he basically learned the Sod and then he regretted a lot of things he wrote in the Moreh. That's written in Nachalat Avot by Yitzchak Arbarbanel. Okay, so coming back here,
Ramban, he had access in the soul.
Ramban is yes, 100%. So we see from here what? There's no Torah amongst the Goyim. And Torah b'Goyim. That's it. Why? They have to have Brit Milah. And the Muslims don't have a Brit Milah, so that doesn't count because they don't have Priya. So at the end of the day, no Brit Milah, there's no way to understand the Torah. That's what it's saying here, right? Kahotam alibecha, like the signature on your heart. In order to get the signature on the heart, you have to have the signature down below. Good?
Yes.
Okay. And that's why it's Mi Yale Lanu Hashamayma, Rashi Tevot Milah. What are the Sofet Tevot? Yud.
K.
Hey.
Vav.
Vav.
Shemaima.
K. We have Yud Ke Vav Ke. So we have the Milah is the Rashi Tevot. And the last letters of Mi Yale Lanu Hashamayma is Yud Ke Vav Ke, which means the step to getting to Yud Ke Vav Ke is Brit Milah.
So they're answering their own question.
Yes.
Who will get the Torah? Someone who is.
Someone who is circumcised. That is correct. And someone who's circumcised can have access to Yud Kei Vav Kei.
Only.
Only. That is correct. So the first step is milah. No milah, no Torah. Now we have another idea why a Brit Milah is done 8 days.
They go to a Shabbat.
They have a Shabbat with no Brit Milah, right? But then once they get the Brit Milah, now they can begin to, even though they're still very small, they can still begin to acquire Torah. Because at 5 years old, you start teaching boys Torah, yes? Pesukim. Even before that, when they can speak, you teach them Shema Yisrael.
You were not born on Shabbat. You're born on Shabbat. You do the
If you're
Brit
born
Milah.
on Shabbat,
It's on Sunday.
correct. Then no, then the Brit Milah is on Shabbat. He's right. So then you don't have a Shabbat without a Brit Milah.
My son 30 years ago his Brit was yesterday.
Okay, I think
It's counted.
if, oh wow.
That's right.
Remember I discussed yesterday about,
After Shabbat.
during the class, about Gilgul Neshamot from Mishpatim? Were you there yesterday?
Mhm.
Yes, okay. It's called Saba de Mishpatim, which means there's a Saba, I think is Yina Saba, who basically had died, and he came and was revealing to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the students items of Gilgul Neshamot. And that's brought in Parashat Mishpatim. So if you want to understand the Zohar's approach to Gilgul Neshamot, it's in the beginning of Parashat Mishpatim.
All the secrets of Gilgul are there.
Now, get that. Why is it there? We discussed yesterday. That's what the Zohar discusses. The Onkelos basically uses the word seder. He doesn't, tasim means to put before. But Onkelos uses the translation tasim. He translated as seder, to sader, to organize. What? So we understand from here that all court cases, sometimes a person walks out of a court case, even though he knows that he doesn't have to pay the money. The other person is lying, but because the Dayan is not able to see to the best, because maybe that person's a better liar, right? What happens? The case is ruled against you. What do you say to that? This is from another life, which means this money I owe this person from another life, which means I went to court, Jewish court, and the Jewish court determined I got to pay, even though I know I shouldn't have to pay. No, I do have to pay, but it's not from here, it's from before.
It's from a different prosecution.
It's from a different prosecution. That's the story that was brought in the Zohar. How are you going to test it? Yeah, I'm listening.
I can't help but think, what if I don't want to be this guy, but like, and I don't know for sure because I didn't listen to it, but has there never been an instance in contemporary history where someone was caught being corrupt? I'm only speculating because I'm trying to test this logic here. If we're to readily accept that this is from another life, does that even take into account the possibility that there was a corrupt ruling, not just a mistake?
Oh, yes. That's the story that was brought. If you came to the class yesterday, you would have seen that. The story brought was there was a guy, to make a long story, okay? Basically, he goes, a wealthy guy, goes to under a tree, and basically he's resting, and he has his lunch, and he drinks water, and then he leaves. And he forgets his purse. He forgets his money, right? Another guy comes after that guy left, sits under the tree, sees the money, takes it, and leaves. Then a third guy comes, a real poor, very difficult Nebuch kind of guy, comes and basically sits under the tree. The first guy comes back and says, "Where's my money?" This third guy says, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he really doesn't know what he's talking about. So what does the first guy do? Beats him. Beats him. What's the understanding? What's the nimshal? The first guy in a previous life owed money to the second guy. But because there was an improper judgment in the first life, he kept the money. He comes back so he can lose the money to the second guy. The second guy was the one who should have gotten the money in the previous life. He doesn't know anything about it. He takes the money, and now it's rested. It's whole. Which means the person who's supposed to pay, paid. The person who's supposed to receive, received. Who's the third guy? It's the Dayan. The Dayan that did not properly do Chakira, did not investigate the circumstances properly, comes back so he can get beaten for the fact that he didn't properly judge.
Why does that mean that can make it be better? he is not makeh chavro, why does he get makeh? Why does he get lashes?
Judge wrong. That's what he means.
Okay, so he should be judged wrong.
Judge wrong.
Oh, I guess he was judged wrong.
What's the punishment for if a person is a liar, is a bad judge? Machrivet haolam. It's very serious. A person who judges improperly is machrivet haolam. And that's why it says you want to have a person when they go to court, din Torah la'amito. Why do we have to say la'amito? Din Torah is enough. Once I hear din Torah, I'm done. What does la'amito mean? What is that adding? It's adding that sometimes the din Torah is fixing something that you don't even realize from before. Pella. That's it. That's it. And that's the danger. Person walks out, he says bad things, bad news. You're just ending up more. You're going to come back. The person's going to have to come back again to fix what he said. Okay? Coming back is not ideal, except in the rare circumstances. So what's discussed over there also in the Zohar, which I didn't bring up yesterday. What does it say? Ki tikne eved ivri, shesh shanim ta'avod, ubashevi yatzeh lechavshi chinam. What's it talking about? It's all talking about Gilgul Neshamot. How? What is the Eved Ivri?
Someone who was poor.
You're not going to guess it. Trust me. I'm
Oh,
asking it.
sorry.
It's a rhetorical question. Unless you refuse the Zohar, there is no way you can figure this
So
out.
you're saying, what's the nimshal of that?
What's Eved Ivri?
And the nimshal.
A person who was born, who was conceived, anytime not Shabbat. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Anyone conceived on those other days, he's Eved Ivri. Why? Because he was born, his neshama, it says in the Zohar, comes from the world of the Bria and lower, which is the created world. So his neshama is not the same as the one whose parents had relations and had the relations on Shabbat.
We're talking about conception.
Conception.
Yeah, not born.
But has to do with the relation. Conception is after, right? So the relations that happen on Shabbat. Why is that the most amazing thing? Because the neshama comes from the world of Atzilut.
Right, okay.
That is bat shivi yatzeh lechavshi chinam, which means the Eved Ivri is any Jew that is born with his parents that had relations Sunday through Friday. A Jew who's born, whose parents had relations on Shabbat, and that's where he's born from, that's called Hafshi. Now we understand the Brit Milah. Why would a boy born on Shabbat doesn't have to have a Shabbat? Because perhaps that's a boy that was conceived on Shabbat. He's already in a different level. Whereas the other one has to have a Shabbat because he was conceived not on Shabbat. I'm just throwing it out there. This is called sod. This is not. This is no way to know. And that's just
Ask your parents.
one of these days we got to do Saba the Mishpatim. I mean, I just touched on the first couple of sentences of the Zohar. It's unbelievable. Wow. Okay, so let's continue on. Rashi Atvan Milah, v'sove Atvan Yudke Vavke. Mi yale lanu hashamayma. Man denatir hay reshimu kilu natir shma dekidusha. Whoever has that roshem, what's the roshem? Oh, what the word? What's the roshem? What is a roshem? It's a sign. It's something left over. What's the roshem? The roshem is the Brit Milah. Whoever has the roshem of the Brit Milah, it's like he takes the name of God.
Takes Yudke Vavke.
Milah, Yudke Vavke. Mi yale lanu hashamayma. So as long as a person has the roshem, the sign, the sign, now he can take the name. No roshem, no name. The big question is, if the goyim in the time of the Mashiach are going to have to know Yud Kei Vav Kei, how they doing with that without a snip?
They just need to draw a little blood.
Have you ever seen that anywhere?
That's what I was told.
Have you ever? You have a source that says that in the time of the Mashiach, all the goyim are going to get circumcised?
Okay, so what happens if you have a ger who wants to get
Forget the ger. There's no ger. There's no more gerut. In Mashiach comes, the conversion is closed. You snooze, you lose. Now's the time. This is the last stop on the bus. You don't get on now, you ain't getting on. So what happens to all the goyim? Now let's think about this. There's a sort of a remez. I've never seen it talked about for the Mashiach, but there's a remez. Where else do we see a situation where all the Gentiles were circumcised? Don't bring up Shimon and Levi. Let's leave that. Let's leave Shechem alone. Where else do we see that all the goyim were circumcised? It's not. It's in the Midrash. As long as you brought it up.
Jericho?
No.
thought that was the only time.
Converting the Hasmonean era.
I'm talking about from the Torah time. I'm not talking about Hasmonean.
The only one that we heard about another one.
The only one that's mentioned in the Torah is Shimon and Levi, and they did that so they would be weaker. So what would happen? They could kill them.
Something with David and Yoav.
We haven't. No.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, very good. That's it. When Yosef was Mishneh Melech, when Yosef was the second in command in Egypt, the Midrash says that before he gave them food, he forced them to circumcise.
Wait, before you get who food? Oh, the people coming to the Mashiach.
When they came to collect,
Oh, this is during the
first, before you get any food, snip, snip, snip.
Okay, so this is you start all the food.
And no one has ever explained, at least I don't recall, why.
What good did it do?
And what good did it do? I'm sure Yosef had his reasoning, okay? But what good did it do? Maybe that's very interesting. What do we say? Maybe there's, I don't know, I've never seen a source that says in the time of the redemption in the Mashiach, the goyim going to circumcise. But based on what we're learning now, what does it say? The only way you can access the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is how? You have to have milah. If all the goyim in the time of the Mashiach are going to have Yud Kei Vav Kei, umala'ah ha'aretz de'at Yud Kei Vav Kei, kamayim la'yam mechasim, and that's talking about the Gentiles, how are they going to get that without milah? That's the question.
Yeah, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why they were circumcised, the example of Yosef was because they were part of his household.
All of Egypt, no, all of Egypt, whole country, no. There's something has to do with the fact that I don't remember, I don't want to say it out without, but I remember the Midrash talks about that, I don't remember the why. Yosef gave a reason.
Similar to the concept, I feel like, of how, like, when you have a slave, the slave would also need to be circumcised.
Okay, but they weren't slaves.
Right. But there's some sort of sense of ownership associated with being the king of a country. I'm going to assume there's some connection there, right?
Circumcision is not for Gentiles.
But it's not for them per se. The fact that they're all under him, they're in a way, in a sense, they're his.
And again, it's not mentioned in the Torah. It's not magnified. It's mentioned in Midrash. I think it's very interesting.
The Torah is Chokmah, but they just can't access it. That particular.
They cannot access that Chokhmah.
That particular.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other Chokhmah, science, math,
Right.
they can access. Okay? But not Torah. You have to have Brit Milah. That's what we're learning here. Okay? And the only way to access Yud Kei Vav Kei is through the Torah. While you can also study science and get to Hashem, okay, it's only if a person also has the Bible. It's only if a person also has the Torah.
You have people the scientists are referencing to who come to, like, maybe they start off atheists and they realize there has to be a creator. They can't go to a conclusion.
Okay, having a creator conclusion, that's amazing, but that's not Jew.
Right.
That's like, baby step. That's step one. Thank you so much. Bereshit bara li mitashamayim v'haaretz. Thank you so much. You studied the first pasuk, you learned it. What about all the rest? Okay? Which means it's a lot more to being a Jew than just Bereshit bara li mitashamayim v'haaretz. Baruch Hashem, I'd rather have a person believe that God created the world and that's it. There's no God. That's much better. Okay? But at the end of the day, it's a long road from God created the world to God is involved in creation and God favors the Jewish people and God gave them the Torah. And you have to go talk to the Jewish people so they can learn. Found it?
Hey, Rashi says right there. Yimonu.
Hashem alachem tasu. Lifisha Yasuf Amel lahem shimolu. Okay, well, let's get the pasuk first, though. Thank you so much for finding it. Very nice. Vatirav kol eretz Mitzrayim vayitzak ha'am el paro lalachem vayomer paro chechol Mitzrayim lechu el Yosef asher yomar lechem ta'asu. Translated, and all of the nation of Egypt was starving, and the nation cried out to Paro for the lechem, for food, and Paro told all of the Egyptians, go to Yosef, whatever he says, you have to do. Zok Rashi, thank you so much, Aviv. Lefisha haya Yosef omer lahem shimolu. Yosef was saying, you ain't getting food until you're circumcised. So what happened? They went to Paro and they complained. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? That's not part of the deal. Ukeshibao etzel Paro v'mim kachu omer lanu. And when they came to Paro and they said, this is what Yosef is saying to us. Amar lahem, v'lama lo sivartem bar. Why didn't you collect your own grain? Didn't he announce to you that times of famine were coming? Why didn't you collect your own grain? Why didn't you save your own stuff? Amru lo asfenu harbe v'kirva. We gathered a lot of grain together, and it spoiled. Meaning, what made Yosef unique? We said this before. What about Yosef was unique? Why did Yosef know how to store grain?
How to do that?
Because Egypt never was a famine. Once in Abraham's time, there was a famine, and everybody went to Egypt. This is the first time Egypt has a famine. Every place else they knew, when they went to Egypt to get the grain, they had to store it. So all other places, but Egypt had no knowledge about how to store grain because they never had to. So they said, we tried to store the grain and it spoiled. Amar lahem imken kol asher yomar lachem ta'asu. If that's the case, you tried, you failed. Whatever Yosef says you have to do. Hare gazal atva v'yirkiva. Ma im yigzor aleinu v'namut. Yosef made a gzera. The gzera was, whatever you try to store yourselves is going to spoil. And guess what?
And if a tzaddik says something,
And it's spoiled. So now Paro said, if you don't listen to him, he's going to say that you're going to die, and then you're going to die. That's why they did Brit Milah. It still doesn't explain why he wanted the Brit Milah.
it spoiled because they didn't have Brit Milah.
No.
Why did it spoil?
Par-
Sorry,
we
it spoiled
don't-
because he said so.
It's spoiled because Yosef said, if you store your own grain, it's going to spoil. So when they went to Paro and they said, we tried to store the grain, it spoiled, because that's what Yosef said is going to happen, right? So Paro said, well, if he said your grain's going to spoil and that's what happened, what if he says you're going to die? Then you're going to die. Do whatever he says.
He did on purpose to get them to come. It's like a monopoly.
It doesn't say, Rashi doesn't say why Yosef did it. All it says is, what was the reaction of the Goyim?
It also doesn't say why he made it.
Maybe. Yosef understood that what? When the Jewish people are going to leave Egypt, what's going to have to happen?
They need,
They're going to have to circumcise too.
Egypt needs to be desolate.
We're not catching it. Come on, do better.
We're trying.
Before, say it again. Before
Leave Egypt.
the redemption.
When the Jewish people left Egypt,
They need to be Rechush Gadol. They need to be circumcised.
when the Jewish people left Egypt, there was a show of Yud Kei Vav Kei, Parashat Shmot, Parashat Va'era, Parashat Bo, Parashat Beshalach. That show wasn't just for the Jewish people. That show was for the Egyptians. For what purpose? So they would know Yud Kei Vav Kei as they die.
In order to know this, they need to be
Ah!
circumcised. It's only for.
In order to the support, in order for them to be able to appreciate Yud Kei Vav Kei when the Jewish people were leaving, they had to be circumcised. That would have been Yosef's calculation based on what we just learned now.
They need to be circumcised to understand Hashem so they can die. And they're
You're not catching it?
But here's the problem. The problem is, you talk about Yosef, and yet the leaving of Egypt took place many, many years later.
Okay, but
We don't know.
Yosef was hopeful. Maybe they
They
could have left early. You know, the fact that there's a new king that came on Egypt that didn't know Joseph, which means,
They may not have been circumcised.
watch the beauty of Rashi. Open up. Vayakom melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. Zok the Rashi. What did he say? What does Rashi say there? What does it mean?
He made himself forget.
He didn't remember his gezerot. What gezerot? Brit Milah. Give me the rock. Give me.
But it's smart, right?
What?
So they could appreciate it
No, that's-
because they got the Brit Milah.
I need smoke.
They appreciate it because they got
And
the
what
Brit
does the
Milah.
word in Hebrew ligzor mean? To cut. I mean, look at the beauty of the words of Rashi. I got to see if the Maharal says that. That's amazing. Beginning, first couple Pesukim. Vayakom el chadash ha-Mitzrayim asher lo yodat Yosef. That's amazing. That's amazing. If that's an understanding of Rashi, I never thought about that before. You follow?
You're saying that.
Let's look.
Rashi's saying that they had to be circumcised in order for them to
Appreciate.
appreciate.
That's what we're learning from the Zohar here. We're learning from the Zohar that the only way you can appreciate Yud Kei Vav Kei is with a circumcision, right?
Yes.
Why is that different for Gentiles?
No difference.
They don't have to be a Jew, but they have to be circumcised. Again, there's no mitzvah for them to be circumcised, right? What do we see here? Vayakom melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yadat Yosef. Rabu Shmuel, Rashi brings a machloket. Hadamar hadash mamash. One said a new king. The Hadamar shenit hadshu gezerotav. That he made new decrees. Meaning,
Could be the same king.
he
but-
canceled the decrees of Joseph. What was the decree of Joseph? Circumcision. And the word used, gzerotav, ligzor, is to cut. I got to look at this a little bit more. It's amazing. It's almost too good to be true. Okay, and this is Masechet Sotah, so we have to look at that. See, look at the Maharshi over there. This is something that's worthwhile to do some reach. Okay, which means if it's a new king, then he didn't follow the. Even if it's the same king, he didn't renew Joseph. He had new decrees, and the new decree was no more. And that's why, what does Paro say? Mi Hashem. He says that because
I don't know. I'm not sniffed.
I'm not sniffed. I have no idea. Wow. So how do they see it at the end? How do they see it at the end? They weren't circumcised. How do they see it at the end? Maybe if it's miracles, then you see it, even without a circumcision. But it's only temporary. So that depends on when the Mashiach comes. Is it with miracles? It's probably going to be with miracles. It's probably going to be a miracle. They don't have to circumcise. Let's take that back. They don't have to circumcise. Hashem is going to make it so that they see him without a circumcision. Right now, the only way to see Yud Kei Vav Kei is through the Torah. And it has to have the Torah, you have to have the Brit Milah. Anyway, there's something here we have to look into more detail. I think we've gone beyond the book here, but wow, holy moly. Okay, this is from the Sefer Yetzirah. Remember, we talked about this in Tikkunei Zohar. Continuing on. A person who has that reshima, a person that has that sign, it's as if he's taking the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Good? Okay. The Katav Od Sham, it's also written there. Uman de mishaker brit milah. This is bad news now. A person who lies about the Brit Milah. What does that mean?
Lies.
Says he has it, but he doesn't.
I don't get it.
What does it mean a person lies, mishaker bamilah?
Didn't have the preeminent.
No. That he puts it in a place that's not worthy.
Not using it properly.
Not using it properly.
That's called lying.
That's called lying. Because when a person receives the Brit, there's a covenant. What's the covenant? You have the sign of Hashem on your body. Don't put that sign where it's not supposed to be. If a person does that, that's called mishaker b'brit. Okay? Uman de mishaker b'brit milah, hu mishaker b'chotamah de malkah. A person who lies with the Brit Milah is lying with the signature of Hashem, of the king. Dehu Rashim Be Shin Dalad Yud, because it's signed Shin Dalad Yud, Shaddai, Milavar Haviyah Milagav. There's Yud Kevav Ke and there's Shin Dalad Yud. That's the Brit Milah. The Kavana, let's see what he explains. The Kavana, Shachotem Hachitzoni, the outer signature, Sheyesh Brit Milah, Hu Shem Shaddai. It's the name of Shaddai. Remember, what's the difference between a shed and Shaddai? The Yud. And what do we say the Brit Milah is? Yes. Kidichtiv be'Avraham. Ani El Shaddai hitalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. When God is introducing the concept of Brit Milah to Avraham Avinu, what name does God use? El Shaddai. Hashin hu keneged shte nechirei ha'af. The shin is vis-a-vis the two nairs. Dalet hu tzurat adam kesheporeshet yado kadima. When a person puts his hands like this, he's got the shape of a dalet. Okay. Ve'ayod nishlam begilui ha'atara. And the pri'ah and the exposure of the crown, that's the exposure of the yud. Shin, Daled,
And you.
Yod. Ukshadam shomer al gufo. And when a person guards his body, umagbil et kochotav, and he gives his strengths, his powers, limitations, borders, ve'anhagotav rak la'asot ratzon Hashem, and his only desire is to do the will of Hashem, v'lo lihitpashet limkomot acherim, and not to go to other places where he doesn't belong. Chotam et kochot gufo b'shem Shaddai. He signs the strengths of his body with the name Shaddai. What does the name Shaddai mean? She'amar lo'olamo dai. It's a concept of a border. It's the concept of limitation. When a person, just like God, Kavyachol, limit his koach in creating the world, that's called Shaddai. We, in emulating God, have to limit our kochot to only do the Ratzon of Hashem. And when we do that, that's Shaddai.
His will.
Wow. Chotamet kochot gufo b'shem Shaddai she'amar lo'olamo dai. Just like God said to his world, die, we, Adam Olam Katan, we have to say die to our world, which means we are not supposed to go to all these places that we don't belong. If it's not the Ratzon of Hashem, we say, thank you very much, I'm going to pass. That's it. And then when that happens, the inner signature, the outer signature is Shin Daled Yud. What's the inner signature? Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shu Shem Havaya. Shu Or HaNeshama Shemekabel B'Brit. It's the light of the neshama that is received with the brit. Because when the child gets a brit milah, what happens? That's when he gets the neshama. At least that's when the neshama is a sign of the neshama. Kmo she'erich b'tikunei Zohar sham simeni kahotam alibecha. Da nishmata di'u reshimu dila gelifa le'ela. This is the sign of the neshama that is basically a sign with the brit milah. Ayem bezohar charemot. Look at the Zohar charemot. Shirak mi shirashum beroshem kadosh. Only a person who is properly got the signature of the holy sign. Mutalil modo to Torah. Which means he says even in a situation, it seems to be that the Zohar is suggesting that even a Jew not allowed to teach Torah if he has no brit milah. Lefisha Torah hi shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, the brit milah allows you to understand the names of God.
Because you're actually wearing them.
That's correct. And when you understand the names of God, that's how you understand the Torah. What's this whole book about?
The names of God.
The names of God. This book is basically saying, you want to learn Torah, you want to understand the tefillah, you need to learn and understand the names of God. Kulanu yodei shemecha v'lomdei Toratcha lishma. The only way to learn Torah lishma is to know the names. If a person doesn't know the names, he's not learning Torah lishma. Do we understand that? It says a person that doesn't learn Torah lishma, it's better he wasn't born.
Shema, the catalyst is knowing the names. That's the Shema.
That's
Shema.
what it means. Lo yodei Toratcha lishma, Shem Hashem. Which means in order to understand the Torah properly, a person has to learn the names of God. Has to study this book.
We were just learning for God, L'Shem Shemaim, but that's so superficial.
No, that's not what it means. It doesn't mean for God. And you know how it is for God when you study his names?
You have to know who you're addressing.
Wow. Got that? And the key is the Brit Milah. No Brit Milah, you can't learn the names. You can't learn the names, you can't learn Torah. And through the Torah, you learn Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's like Gal Gal Choser. Okay, let's continue on. Wow, that's Sefer Yetzirah. Wow, holy moly. That's awesome. Awesome. The Chotam Yud Kei Besod Eser Etzbaot. So we talked about the fact that the Yud Kei, which is the Etzbaot, the fingers, right? The Yud Kei is the fingers, the 10 fingers is the Yod, and the 5 is the different 5 different phonetic ways of the Hebrew. Yes? We good? HaChotemet shel HaMilah hi Shem Shaddai mi bachutz. We already discussed this. The signature of the Milah is Shaddai bachutz, which means a person has to be Shomer Habrit. Guard the Brit. What does it mean to guard the Brit? Shaddai. Do not allow the Brit to go to places where it's not supposed to be. That's called limiting the koach. That's called limiting the force, limiting the strength. What's that called? Shaddai. Now the rabbi is going to explain. We just discussed the outer sign. The outer sign is Shin Daled Yud. Shin, Daled, Yud. Yes? Now we're going to understand the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Eser etzbaot hayadayim, the 10 fingers of the hands. Ve'alashon hem chotem Yud Kei. And the tongue is the hay.
Because of the 5 categories.
Because of the 5 categories, correct. Shehem keneged chokhmah ubina ve'adat bilshon hamachriya ben hayadayim. So this is the chokhmah, this is the binah, and this is the da'at.
I thought it was the Gimel Rashim.
That's no, he's not.
Is that Chokhmah Bina then?
No. Okay, when you're talking Gimel Rashim, you're generally talking about
Moach.
the Keter.
Sorry.
We're not talking about the keter now. We're talking about pointing down. Okay? So we have chokhmah, bina, da'at. Yes? We good? Okay. Kamo she'hakatav hagra b'safar Datzniuta. Another thing we have to study one of these days. After we finish Saba de Mishpatim, then we have to study Safar Datzniuta. Okay? That's in Parashat Terumah this week. Daf bet. V'chokhmah ubina malbishim et hayadayim. And chokhmah and bina, they malbish, they dress the yadayim. Okay? We'll see what he's talking about shortly. Okay? Umitgalim ha'etzbaot he chasadim. And the fingers reveal the 5 chasadim. Bimina on the right, and 5 chasadim bismola. There are 5 chasadim in the right, 5 chasadim on the left. Not chasidim, chasadim. V'lachen nikreu chokhmah ubina kaf zechut kaf chova. Oh, wow. It says you have a scale. And on Rosh Hashanah, the scale has to be, if the avonot are stronger than the kaf chova. What does the word kaf in Hebrew mean? Spoon. It means a cup. Kaf. A cup. Like in a scale. That's called a kaf. Okay? But the word kaf also means palm.
Kapot marim.
Kapot marim. Palm. Ooh, that's interesting. That's why it's in English. It's palm. Holy moly, never realized that.
Oh, palm tree?
Palm tree. Why is it called a palm? Because it's a kaf.
Even more. What's a palm tree in modern Hebrew? Dactyl.
Oh, very nice. Okay, but dactyl, that's probably Latin.
Right.
That's Latin,
There's
decal.
no
But palm, the word palm is coming from kaf, kapot marim. Wow, nice. Okay, but so what do you see from here? You have kaf zechut, kaf chova. We just said you have 5 chasadim of the chokhmah and the 5 chasadim of the bina. Kaf zechut, kaf chova. Let's see how he explains this. Chokhmah ubina are called kaf zechut, kaf chova. The da'at hu alashon, and the da'at is the speech, the lashon. Ki alashon yored betoch hagaron ben hayadayim, because the lashon is in the throat that's between the hands. V'ken ikar zivugam bapeh al yidei alashon, and the way the hands is through the lashon. There's the connection between the hands, the zivug of the chokhmah and the bina is through the lashon. I'm not sure what that means. We have to think about that. The kavanato. Now he's going to explain it. Shechokhmah ubina malbishot et hayadayim shel parzuf arich anpin. That chokhmah and bina, they are dressing the yadayim of the parzuf of arich anpin. What's arich anpin? Keter. The kapot hayadayim and the palms of the hands, hem prakin ilain shel chesed gvura shelo, is the elevated chesed and gvura of the keter. Umisham mitgalim hey chasadim v'hei gvurot, and from them you have the 5 chasadim, and then you have 5 the gvurot. The 5 chasadim come from the chokhmah, and the 5 gvurot come from the bina. Keneged eser etzbaot, vis-a-vis the 10 fingers. The chotam otiot vav hey. Now we go to the vav hey. That was the yud k. So we discussed originally how the shin daled yud is on the body, on the outside. Now he's discussing how the yud k vav k is on the body, on the inside, on the pinimi. So we have the yud k, which is the 10 fingers and the tongue, right? Good. Now we're going to go to the bottom. The chotam otiot vav hey, and the sign of the vav hey on the human body. Here we're talking about the male body. I'm sure it would apply to the female body, but a different part of her anatomy. Chatzi Hashem shel havaya. Yes? Half the name havaya. Miramazim al shesh ketzavot u'malchut habonim et ha'olamot ha'tachtonim. What's he talking about? Chotam otiyot vavke. Chatzi Hashem shel havaya. Chatzi Hashem is 13, not 11. Mirmazim al shesh ketzavot has a hint of six directions. Umalchut, that's 7. Habonim et ha'olamot ha'tachtonim, that build the lower worlds. Ulfichach hel malbishim et haraglaim shel parzuf arichan bin. They malbish the raglaim of the parzuf. I have no idea what you're talking about here. Shebahem eser etzbaot. Within there's eser etzbaot. There's 10 fingers. Shekol horat haraglaim hem hamshachat hashefa klapei chutz kedei litno la'achirim. That the horah of the raglaim is to what? Is to draw the shefa down to give it to achirim. Yes. How does he get from 11 to 13? I'm not clear about that. 6 and 5. That's 11. Shesh ketzavot is 6. What's the 5? Hey, I don't know. He's not explaining it. At least I'm not understanding it. Let's move on. I'm not sure it's.
Another one.
Yes, I'm gonna have to figure out that one. Oh, he's gonna explain over here. Chatzi Hashem. What does it mean, Chatzi Hashem? Mash katav Rabbeinu al Shem Vav Hey Chatzi Hashem. What the rabbi wrote that Vav Hey is half the name. Kishem Yud K Efshalo li Karelu Ifnei Atzmo. Yud K is Chatzi Hashem, but it's also a name unto itself. Yud K corresponds to what Sfirah?
Yud K.
No.
Chokhmah. Very good. Yud K corresponds to the Chokhmah. So we have that name, even though it's half Hashem's name, it's a name to itself.
But Vav Hey is not a name.
Vav Hey is not a name to itself.
Right.
That's what he's going to say. The Shem Vav Hey eno nikra b'fnei atzmo. It's not a name unto itself. Lefishu kitz. Lefishu kitzitza b'netiot. What is kitzitza b'netiot? We talked about this. Cutting the shoots. What does that mean?
Not pronouncing the letters correctly.
That's when you make a separation.
Between one half
between the upper
And the lower.
and the lower. That's called ketzitza b'netiot.
Because you're cutting shoots.
Therefore, the Vav Hey can never be alone. If the Vav Hey is alone, that's called Chas v'Shalom ketzitza b'netiot.
Because it's the lower.
Correct. The upper one, Yud K, has its own name. It could be itself. But if the Vav K is by itself, that's called kotzetz b'netiot. We read that 2 weeks ago. What did we read 2 weeks ago? Ki yad al kes ya milchama ba'amalek midor dor. Milcha ladonai ba'amalek midor dor. That's what it says. Ki yad al kes ya. What does that mean? Amalek kavyachol. What does he do? He's kotzetz b'netiot. He separates the Yud K from the Vav K. That's why my understanding of Amalek is they're atheists. They're kotzetz b'netiot. They instill doubt. Yes.
The other day, somebody said that before they became Jewish, heathen. What came to my mind was pagan, and then when I looked it up after the fact, they're used interchangeably. But a heathen sounded like really ominous to me, which because maybe it was like just it felt ominous. And when I think of paganism, I think of Halloween, right?
Okay, good.
And then, well, we have Valentine's Day, which is the Saints' Day, but a lot of people just observe it like Hallmark, like no big deal. Yeah.
What does the word pagan mean?
You're asking me your people.
It's not, again, right now, pagan means an idolater. But in original Greek, pagan, however you pronounce it in Greek, what is pagan? It's going to blow your mind. Look it up. Challenge me. The equivalent in Hebrew is Am Haaretz, a worker of the land, which means an ignoramus. Why? Because only an ignoramus would be a pagan. What's that?
Gan means garden. Gan.
Okay, but that's in Hebrew.
Yeah, but
No,
saying-
I'm saying in
Is it
Greek.
Greek.
The original meaning of the word pagan, even though now we translate pagan in English, we say it's a person who's an idolater.
You're saying in Greek it means worker.
In the original Greek, the word pagan means worker of the land. That's why in Greek, you'll have some people have the name Pagano. In Italian, Pagano. Why would someone name themselves Pagano? Who's proud to be a pagan? Because it doesn't mean pagan. It doesn't mean an idolater. The word means Amaretz, a person of the land.
What a teaching, Rav.
I'm glad I got to share that. I saw that a while back, and I said, I don't think I've ever shared that before. So we see from here, Kitzitzia b'netiyot, ayen habiur b'tchilat Shaar Tet. So he says in the beginning of Shaar Tet is the Shaar of the Chokhmah. That's where he discusses this concept of Kotzetz b'netiyot. There's another word, it's called Mafrid Aluf. What is Mafrid Aluf? Separating the Aluf. What's the Aluf? Alufo shel olam. That's called Kofer. Kfira, Katzatz b'netiyot. That was Elisha ben Avua. Katzatz b'netiyot. Okay. Arel shasak b'Torah chayav mita. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh no, let's go move on. That's next. Huh? Just read quickly the definition. What does it say?
Is a term first used in the 4th century by early Christians for people in the Roman Empire who practiced polytheism or ethnic religion, Judaism and Islam in the time that
Pagan is idolatry. You have to look further back.
yeah,
The word was not created by the Christians. They were adopted by the Christians to denote people who are idolaters. But if you look at the original meaning, Greek was a language that preceded Christianity by about 400 or 500 years.
this is the Hellenes, the Gentiles, and the heathen.
Yeah, the Hellenic.
Correct. Look at the original, however you say pagan in the original ancient Greek, what is the definition? Before they were Christians, everybody was an idolater. So do you mean to tell me that the Greeks called themselves pagans as idolaters? No. There was only one monotheistic religion. It's called Judaism.
Religion of the peasants.
Peasantry. What is peasantry?
People of the land.
People of the land. How do you say that in Hebrew? Amaretz. Okay. Let's continue. We're back on the Shaare Orah on top. The kol talui b'brit milah. Everything is tied to the brit milah. Okay, so why are we focusing so much on brit milah over here? What shah are we in?
Yesod.
Of course. We're in the El Shaddai, right? El Chai. We're in the Yesod, so therefore we have to focus on brit milah. Shu hashorosh hatachton shel ot vav, which is the bottom of the vav. The bottom of the vav is the brit milah. Just like the end of a man's torso is his brit milah. Yes? Okay. The hay, he sod ha-Torah shebe'al peh. The hay is the secret of the Torah shebe'al peh. Shehi sod ha-priyah. That's the sod of the priyah. Ulufichach en Torah mesura lechuti lefi shu'arel. The Torah is not given to kuti, because kuti is arel. What's a kuti? The pure definition of a kuti.
Someone who converted wrong. Or...
No.
So by who
The
did
original definition of kuti.
he's the one who didn't get that right.
It's people who came from a place called Kuta. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
No. I don't even know where Kuta is.
When Sancheriv exiled the 10 tribes, Sancheriv had a brilliant idea. His brilliant idea was this: if I capture a land, how do I make sure as I go capture other lands that the people that I just left behind are not going to rebel? It's a big problem. Either I got to leave soldiers there to guard, but then the problem is what?
I'm going to be weaker.
Then I'm weaker when I'm forward. How can I move forward?
Play risk.
So Sancheriv had a brilliant idea. What did he do? He said people rebel because they're still living in the land of their ancestors. So what did he do? He took people and moved them from place to place. So he took the 10 tribes, took them out of the land of Israel, and sent them to all kinds of other places. But who did he bring to the land of Israel? He brought people from the land of Kuta. And they were the ones who dwelled in the land of Israel. And they were pagans. Pagans. They came from the, no,
Sancherib.
Sancherib, the Melech of Ashur, the king of Assyria, right? So he brought in these pagans. Now, the land of Israel has no tolerance for pagans. How do we know that? In the past 2,000 years, how many times did the Christians run the land of Israel?
Wait, once?
Not too much.
One of the Crusades.
Very little.
The Crusades, maybe one of them for a couple of years. It wasn't a lot. So originally, when there was no Islam around, the Christians dominated Israel. Yes, or not? Actually, it wasn't the Christians. It was initially the pagans, then Christians. But what happened once Islam came on board? The land of Israel fell under Islam. There's a reason for that. Land of Israel doesn't like pagans. Doesn't. It'd rather have monotheistic goyim than pagans. And that's why the Muslims are so successful. But before I won't finish what I'm saying. What happened to these people that were brought, that were pagans, to the land of Israel? They continued doing their pagan stuff. So what happened? They were decimated by lions. So they went to the Jews who were still around, the ones from Yehudah, and they said, "What's going on over here?"
Why are the lions eating?
Because the land of Israel doesn't tolerate pagans. So they went to the Jews and said, "What's going on over here?" The Jewish people said, "You don't get it. The land of Israel doesn't tolerate pagans. I understand Sancherib brought you here, but there's no way you're going to be able to stay. The lions are going to continue to kill you." So what did they do? They converted.
Snip and convert.
They were called Gerei Arayot,
Oh.
converts because of lions. Now, what is it said? There's another name for the Kutim. They were also called the Shomronim.
Those wound up to be those?
Yes, the Kutim, Shomronim. Now, what do we know about the Kutim? What do we know about the Shomronim? They accepted the written Torah, but they did not accept the oral Torah.
Which is why they still sacrifice on Pesach.
Which is why they don't have a Brit Milah.
But that's a written Torah.
What's missing?
Where? Priya.
Aha! That's why they're called Arelim, because they don't do the Priya.
But what about the Karaites? They kind of do the same thing.
Same idea.
But do the Karaites come from a different people? Or?
I don't know. We have to look at that.
All right. So they're kind of halfway.
Anyway, so the Shomronim says about the Shomronim, what they followed on the Torah, they did to the letter. They were very particular about what said in the Torah, but they did not pay attention to Rosh Michtav, to Sheba'al Peh. Why? Because they didn't have Priya. No Priya, no Torah Sheba'al Peh.
I thought no Priya, no Torah at all.
That's what he just said over here. He said over here.
No Priya, no Torah Sheba'al Peh.
Shehei he saw the Torah Sheba'al Peh. She saw the Priya. Ulfichach en haTorah Misurah lekuti lefishu arel. That's what he says here. The Kuti does not have the Torah. First of all, you don't have the Torah Sheba'al Peh, you have no Torah.
It's impossible.
Okay.
I know there's something you're on Pesach.
There's Zeu Shamru, and this is what it says: Birkat Hamazon. In Birkat Hamazon, the halacha is Tzarich Shiakdim Brit LeTorah. There are two topics that have to be mentioned in the second bracha Birkat Hamazon: Brit and Torah. In what order? Brit first, Torah second. Be'omro shin halta la'avotenu. What it says that you gave our fathers the land. Ve'al britcha shechatamta bivsareinu. On the brit that you signed, chatamta bivsareinu, you signed on our flesh. Ve'al torat chal shimadatanu, which means the only way you get to the Torah is through the Brit Milah. And adding on what we just learned before, the Brit Milah, what does it help you to do? And the Shemot. The only way you can learn the Torah is through the Shemot, lishma. Be'omro, okay. The Zeu Shamar, and this is what it says, Magid Devarav Yaakov. The Pasuk says he told his things, Devarav, his words to Yaakov. Lemishehu mahul ki Yaakov alav shalom. Who is the one that Hashem is Magid Devarav? LiYaakov. Someone who has a Brit Milah like Yaakov.
Why specifically?
Let's see if he says. The Kuti, because Yaakov had a perfect mitah.
Mitah?
Bed. No psul. No garbage. Avraham had Yishmael. Yitzchak
Okay.
had Esav. Each one of them had garbage come out of their Brit Milah.
Loins. Okay, so the feet or loins was pure. Oh, well, he's.
Therefore,
Emet,
Yaakov has a
he's
pure,
Tiferet,
and that's why Yaakov has pure. That's Emet. Okay?
and Emet Leah.
The Kuti, Shehu Arel, Shasak Batorah Hayachayav Mitah. And a Kuti, now when they say Kuti, when the Gemara discusses Kuti, it's all Goyim. So it brought Kuti as an example, but really Kuti is a term for all Goyim. Why? Because no Goyim have Brit Milah, a proper Brit Milah. Even if they don't come from Kuta. Shehu Arel Shasak Batorah Hayachayav Mitah. Ulfi Brit Milah Ufriya, because Brit Milah is Priya also. Who saw the Shabbat is now he's going to say something else. The Shabbat is Zachor Shamor, correct? That's the Milah and the Priya. The Milah is the Zachar, the Priya is the Nekeva. The Shamor is the Nekeva, the Zachor is the Zachar. Yes? We discussed
Why are they
this.
going backwards?
1 second. Lefichach hamilah dochat haShabbat. Therefore, milah pushes away the Shabbat. V'hi bayom hashemini shehu sod aleph daled nun yud. Why is Yom HaShemini the sod of aleph daled nun yud? When it says bayom hashemini, what is yom? Day. No, not from the Zohar.
Light.
No.
No. This world.
Every yom is a different sfira.
Yom is a Sephira.
Yes. Take my word for it. What is the 8th sfira? Going down from Binah.
Yes, son.
No, it's not Tiferet.
Binah,
Hod.
Chesed, Givurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. The 8th sfira down from Binah is Malchut.
And
that's Aleph Daled Nun Yud.
Yes.
Okay, that's what he just said.
Because that's the name that corresponds.
V'hi bayom hashemini shehi sod Aleph Daled Nun Yud. That's Yom HaShemini. Yom is the 8th sfira.
Oh, but it's Sfira of the 8th.
Good. Shehi sod Priya hanaset achar milah, and that's the sod of the Priya that's done after the milah. The sod Adonai Elohim. Aleph Daled Nun Yud is Malchut. Elohim Yud Kei Vav Kei, pronounced as Elohim, is not Givurah. What's the other choice? Elohim, written as Yud Kei Vav Kei and pronounced as Elohim. What sfira does that correspond to? Binah. It's the 2 female sfirot. Yes? The Binah and the Malchut. Aleph Daled Nun Yud is Malchut. Yud Kei Vav Kei, read as Elohim, is Binah. Nimtzet lamed she Brit Milah dochat haShabbat. Therefore, Brit Milah pushes away the Shabbat. Okay? She, he, Hamidah Atzma.
That's why we got the Brit Milah in Shabbat.
What is Bayom HaShemini?
You said Malchut.
What does the Binah represent?
The Shoresh.
Nitzchiyut.
The next world. Yeah.
Living forever. When the world is kulo
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
יום כולו שבת, ספירה שכולה שבת.
לחי עולמים. ואתה התבונן בכל מה שנמצאת לשון ברית, לאיזה צד נזכרה, אם לברית לשון, אם לברית לבשר, או לפרייה. And now he's going to talk more about the different brit of the lashon, the brit of the basar, and the priya. Okay. Why is it that a goy that celebrates the Shabbat is chayav mitah? Based on what we just learned, he doesn't have a brit.
But it's more than that.
So the Christians did themselves a favor. What's the favor they did?
They pushed it off a day.
They pushed it off to Sunday. Goy Shabbat chayav mitah. So they're helping themselves by the fact that they celebrate, even though they don't celebrate Shabbat. Okay, they have their Sabbath on Sunday, saving them from death. Goy Shabbat chayav mitah. Why? No brit milah. Again, women are born perfect, so they don't have to have brit milah. But the men needed perfection. That's why women are named as soon as the next time you take out Sefer Torah. They don't need any adjustment of their body. Men need adjustment. Why do men need adjustment? They have to incorporate the Shaddai. Why? Because they have all these kochot, and they got to make sure that they properly guard those kochot. Good. Okay, let's see on the bottom. Arel shasak b'Torah chayav mitah. A person who's uncircumcised, who studies Torah, chayav mitah. Ita b'Tanchuma, it's written in Midrash Tanchuma, Mishpatim, Parshat Mishpatim. How do you like that? Im en adam nimol eno yachol lilmod Torah. If a man is not circumcised, he cannot learn Torah. Shne'emar, magid devarav liYaakov. He tells his things over to Jacob. Lemishu mal ki Yaakov. That's not be Yaakov. It's ki Yaakov. That's a mistake. Mishu mal ki Yaakov. A person who is circumcised like Jacob. Lo asachen. What's the rest of the pasuk? Magid devarav liYaakov. Right? One second. Here we go. Magid devarav liYaakov, chukav umishpatav leYisrael. Now we understand why that Tanchuma is bringing in Parashat Mishpatim. Do it again. Magid devarav liYaakov. He tells his sayings to Jacob. What we just learned from here. Someone who was circumcised like Jacob. Chukav umishpatav leYisrael. The chukim, the laws, and the mishpatim to Yisrael. Lo asa chen lechol goy. He did not do so for any Gentile. Umishpatim bal yidaum. Hallelujah. And judgments, he didn't teach them. They don't know. Why don't they know? They have no brit milah.
But that's an ochad that they need to establish a court system. So they do need to have some kind of legislation. Not mishpatim like we have, but they still have.
You have a pasuk in Tehillim. I don't know what to do with that. How do you connect that to a noachad? They have to establish a court system according to the Jewish law, which means they have to go to a Jew to ask the Jewish law. They can't determine the Jewish law themselves. How are they going to determine the Jewish law? They're going to study Masechet Baba Batra. They're going to study Sanhedrin.
So you're saying a goy can't even go to a secular court?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. You're asking a halacha question. I don't know about that. I'm saying that in a situation where goyim are judged, and they have to judge according to the Jewish rules for a Gentile court. Well, how do they learn those Gentile? How do they learn those rules? They have to go to a rabbi. Any ben Noach, if they want to be a ben Noach, has to go to a rabbi. They have to learn how to be a ben Noach. Because they can't go to Joe Schmo Goy and say, how do I be a Ben Noach? They go to a rabbi.
But how does a rabbi teach them? They can't teach them.
The rabbi has to know.
Teach them Noachide.
Yes.
Okay.
Rabbi Rappaport teaches that.
Teach them the Noachide.
Amazing.
I also told him that.
Baruch Hashem, there's a Rabbi Chait, Zichron Tzadik Livracha, who used to also help with the Noachide community in Tennessee. So listen, there are some people who study these halachot so they can teach it to people who want to know. There are big communities. There are the ones in Athens, Tennessee. There's another community I know in Texas. William, from Rabbi Singer, the one who has Tanakh talk.
Yes.
He's a Noachide. Rabbi Tovia Singer's got a YouTube channel. So William, I don't know his last name. William, WIL hyphen apostrophe LIAM. Will Liam. That's his name, right? He's a Noachide. He connected to Rabbi Singer. That's how else you become a Noachide? You have to connect to a rabbi. So you mean to tell me they're going to judge courts without connecting to rabbis? No way. Okay. Why lo asachen l'chol goy? Mishum shem arelim. Because they're uncircumcised. No circumcision, no Torah. Ve'atam kamo sheitbayer she'arel milashon kisui ve'otem v'lo me'ira bo ha'arat neshama. What does arel mean? What is the orlah? It's a kisui. It's a covering. And what does that covering do? It prevents the light from shining out. So the symbol of a person who's able to shine the light of the Torah to other people is a person who doesn't have that covering on the Brit Milah. If a person has that covering, what does that mean? They cannot shine the light of the Torah outside. They can't receive the Orah from the Neshama because they're uncircumcised.
They can't receive light. They can't.
Can't receive light, they can't shine it because it's all covered.
Like a mirror.
The en lo chelek b'Torah, and they have no portion in the Torah. That's why the Christians, they can't figure out, Jesus is on every page of the Tanakh. It's funny. I read the Tanakh. I haven't seen his name once, and I'm doing it a long time. So what do we see differently? Well, first of all, they're reading in the wrong language. And the second thing is, they're uncircumcised. And think about what Paul did. Paul, one of the biggest mitzvot he had a problem with was Brit Milah. He speaks against the Brit Milah multiple times.
In the New Testament?
Yes. That was the one he had a problem with, which is precisely why he has no understanding of the Tanakh. I question whether he was circumcised.
Only that one?
That was a big one. The kashrut and the Brit Milah, that was his biggest problems. Why? Because he wanted the Jew and Gentile to be the same. He didn't want there to be a separate set of rules for Jews and separate set of rules for Gentiles. They didn't like Sigula. They didn't like what we read last week about Atem Sigula. You're a special nation. You know what? We are a special nation. We receive the Torah, not the Christians and not the Muslims. Right?
Very human.
That's right.
Duh.
Huh?
Duh.
Duh. I'm not, it's a pshita. It's very straightforward. Anyway,
But I think the Gentiles know this, though. They know they
of course they know it. That's why they hate us.
No, I'm still telling you, the Christians don't hate me. I'm Jewish.
Okay, all I'm going to say is the Talmud says
I personally get upset.
is that there's a general hatred that they have for us. Just look 2,000 years of history. The Christians have not been nice to us.
Watch the news.
Christians have not been nice to us. Okay? I'm not going to say there weren't special people over the course of the past 2,000 years that were nice to us. There were. But if you study their religion, if you read the New Testament, it doesn't speak nicely about the Jewish people at all. Yes. The source of anti-Semitism in the world is the New Testament. Any country that did not expose itself to the New Testament, there is no anti-Semitism. How much anti-Semitism is there in China?
Or in Japan.
None. How much is there in Japan? None. Even though the Japanese were with the Germans from a political point of view in World War II, they couldn't understand, why are you exterminating these people? What are you doing? These people, they created the vaccines that we're using. So the Japanese took Jews in, even though they were allies with the Germans. What's the difference between Japan and Germany? Very simple. New Testament, no New Testament. That's the difference. Anti-Semitism is there. So yes, there are Christians who don't read the New Testament or want to lighten up what it says there because they want to be more ecumenical, and those are wonderful people, okay? But if you read the New Testament, you become an anti-Semite. Just like if you read the Quran, you become an anti-Semite. And where did the Quran get it from? The Quran got it from the New Testament. Sorry, I know it's a tough subject over there. Let's not relate it to the class. We could talk about it another time. It is what it is. My father's a Holocaust survivor. You know, at the end of the day, there are wonderful Christians around, and there are a lot of terrible, terrible ones for 2,000 years. And they have a lot of payback. A lot of payback. You're talking about reparations. You're talking about what's going on now in Chicago, where they're giving reparations to black people who were slaves 200 years ago. Where's our reparations? Where's our reparations from Europe? Okay, the Germans, they were forced to give reparations because just so happens they lost World War II. What about France? What about England? Where's their reparations? They kicked the Jews out in 1260. Didn't bring them back for 400 years. Where's the reparations? Where's our payment? It's complete anti-Semitism. And the reparations are coming. Because the Mashiach comes, they're going to be paying. Just like the Egyptians had to pay for what they did to us, payment. We left Egypt, we took the money. We were in Yam Suf, we took the money. Okay, they had to pay for what they did. The Arabs don't have to pay. You know why they don't have to pay?
They didn't do it.
No, they don't have to pay because everything they own is ours. Again, Iran is different than Arabs, okay? But anyone who's an Arab, who's the descendant of Ishmael, it's all ours. They don't have to pay. It's all ours already. They don't have anything. It's all ours. They're all Eved. They're all slaves because their great-great-great-grandfather was a slave. Of course they can. And if they convert to Judaism, they're no longer a slave. But when the Mashiach comes, conversion is over.
It's like everything a slave owns, Rabbo owns. But Eretz Yisrael Shlema is not given to all the way to Morocco. It doesn't extend to Morocco.
Morocco, they are not Arabs. Are they Arabs in Morocco? They're not Arabs.
What are they? What? Berbers?
I know what they are. I don't think they're Arab. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about
The Levant.
Iraq,
Okay.
Syria, Lebanon, all those fake countries that didn't exist 300 years ago.
Made during the Sykes-Picot Agreement.
Made during the 1850s with the Arab Spring, the Arab nationalism. They woke up. After hundreds of years, they woke up.
You mean the 1950s?
They're always slow on the uptake. What's that? Yes.
Have you in the course of your life now, like, sat at like a table with all different types of people and have this conversation, almost like a world summit with you personally? I feel like you could.
Why would I want to?
Well, I'm just asking you.
I'm just sit back and wait for the Mashiach to come. Then I don't have to have the summit. God's going to have the summit.
Mashiach is like really around the corner.
Yes. So there's no reason. It's coming.
You just gotta prep. Stay.
As REM used to say, it's the end of the world as they know it, and I feel fine.
Fair enough. That's not, I don't feel like anyone's coming to kill me. I don't personally feel that way.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, you live in the free state of Florida. Anti-Semitism has gone up in New York City 1,500% in the past year.
And going up.
And going up. And not going to get better with Mamdani, Shem to Shemir Kav. So at the end of the day,
I still think that was written, and I think having Trump have this be his main home really, other than
I think God is telling the Jewish people in New York City it's time to start thinking about another place to live.
yeah, Florida. That's why our prices are
Or Israel. Either one. That's either one, you know.
Stay out of here. No,
It's
it's too crowded.
They come to Florida. It's okay. They'll bring a little good gazunt over here. No?
Northern Florida.
Yeah, Northern Florida's fine.
Okay.
Stay above Orlando.
But one of the local rabbis was calling this little Israel, and then another rabbi said I already knew this. It was a forecast from years ago.
Okay, from acclimation, there's no question about it. The climate here is more like Israel than it is in New York. It's never 2 degrees in Israel, ever, anywhere, unless you're on the top of the Hermon Mountains.
Yeah.
We've had snow.
Where?
Yeah, snow, half an inch,
Well, that's
an inch of dusting.
No,
Yeah, but that's in the
a little
mountains.
bit more. I remember. I'll have to ask Nerdy.
Okay, there are, okay, it might be 30,
Like
it might
the
be,
nor'easter that was in Germany
it might be
years ago.
25. You're never going to see temperatures below 0 in Israel.
For a prolonged period of time. No.
So this is more the climate. Florida is much, and that's Jerusalem. If you go to Tel Aviv, you don't see snow in Tel Aviv.
But also me being a Russian Jew, I don't really like that type of temperature.
Okay, but you originally go back many years ago. You weren't a Russian Jew. You were an Israeli Jew because you lived in Israel. So
Are you sure? I wouldn't ask that question.
okay, there were no Russian Jews in the time of the first temple.
there was no Russia.
There was no Russia.
So my 23andMe, if that's a real thing, like not a hoax or whatever.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, what you're looking at your genetics. I mean, is that
Oh,
right?
23andMe.
Yeah.
You
All right, let's continue with the class. We're getting off topic here. Let's continue.
Well, no, but I can rope it back in.
Let's continue.
She said there was no.
והטעם כמו שהתברר שהראל מלשון כיסוי ואוטם לא מאירה בו הרת הנשמה ואין לו חלק בתורה שבאה מהרת ברית לשון. And he has no chalik in the Torah. Why? Because the Brit HaLashon is what gives the shining to the Torah. Meaning what? How do you know a person learns Torah? By the fact that they speak Torah. You don't know what's inside somebody's head, right? But when a person speaks Torah, not to mention, how does one learn Torah? You don't learn it by reading it in your eyes. You learn it by speaking it. That's why people take it so light. People take so light when we read Sefer Torah. You don't realize that is not light. That is very, very significant. You're reading the words that God gave to the Jewish people. How could you not pay attention to that? How could you not? I see people, they have their Daf Yomi opened up. They're reading another halachic book. Forget about reading a newspaper. That's even worse, right? How are you doing that when Sefer Torah is open? Sefer Torah is open and somebody's reading it. There's nothing else you should be doing except hearing the word of God. That's it. And following along. That's it. How insulting is it to God if you open up a Gemara? Sorry, it's insulting to God. And it's not allowed. And it's not allowed. You're not allowed to study something else. When the Torah is open, you read the Torah. And if you're ahead, you can read ahead in the parasha. You have to still see within the Torah. Otherwise, you're saying that's not important. The Talmud is important. No, they're both important. And right now, when we're taking out Sefer Torah, there's nothing more important than the Sefer Torah. That's it. That's the idea. That's not catch-up time for Daf Yomi. As it says here, Shiha neshama dichtiv nishmat shadai tevinem. Look at that. Nishmat shadai tevinem. The neshama of Shaddai, which is the masculine, we said, right? Tevinem, that's the binah. Ayen nefesh hachayim, Shar Aleph. Ba'arichut neshama hi hanotenet ladam binah. The neshama is what gives. Where's the neshama comes from? It comes from the binah. Tieh nishmatot tzura bitzror hachayim. What is tzror hachayim? The binah.
So what are you saying there? If it comes from the Bina, why should it be?
Because after it leaves the world, it goes
It goes back
back.
to the Bina. Okay, that's what they're saying. Not to anywhere else.
The binah is the tzror hachayim.
So they're saying your neshama should go back to
The bundle of life, which is the binah. He anotenet ladam binah b'nitzutze orah, with sparks of light. Alav lehislaskilo b'imkei mitzmatzpunei Torah kedusha. And that's how a person gets to understand the sod, the secrets of the Torah. The secrets of the Torah, we said, the Torah Shebe'al Peh comes from the Malchut, yes? Where does the sod come from? No.
Bina.
Binah. Kumo she'arel shasak b'torah chayav mitah. He's going to bring up what I said before. Just like an uncircumcised Gentile, an uncircumcised person who involves himself in the Torah acquires the death penalty. from Shamayim, not court. Ken goy sheshavat hayav mita. Similarly, a Gentile that observes the Shabbat is worthy of the death penalty from Shamayim. Why? Because Shabbat is ot beni ubenechem. It's not for the goyim. It's not.
They're jumping into the covenant.
As far as the Torah is concerned, goyim is work 7 days a week. There's no Shabbat.
I thought that Sunday was Shabbat for them.
No, there is no Shabbat for the goyim.
They made it up.
Ula'olam bahem ta'avodu. It says Eved Kanani, you work them every day. There's no days off. And give me this question. In Japan, how many days off are there? I don't think there are any days off. People take a weekend, but they have the commitment, right? That's more of a Western type of situation. In Korea, how many days off are there?
Yeah, for the Asians, it's more important the company than the family.
That's correct.
But they were only 8-hour weeks. Right?
Who are the fruit stores in New York that are open 7 days a week? Who owns those?
Chinese?
The Koreans and the Chinese. They're open 7 days. There's no such thing as a day off.
And the families are the ones who take care of it.
Yes. There's no day off. Maybe someone might be off, but someone in the family. The store is open 24/7. Okay. Baruch Hashem, we have God. God gave us a Shabbat, but that's for the Jewish people. That's not for the Gentiles. It's called cultural appropriation. Oh, don't get me started on that. Cultural appropriation. If they have a day off, it's called cultural appropriation. Originally, the Gentiles in Roman society, there were no days off. No weekend. Anyway, so they can hate us, but they can hate us. But the fact that they have a weekend and they have time off is because of us. What's that?
What do they do on Saturnia Day?
They partied. That was not a weekend. That's not every week. They had some times off. They have holidays. Holidays when you take off. There's no weekend holiday every weekend. That's a uniquely Jewish concept. Okay. Shishnehem em ot ubrit, because both the Shabbat and Brit Milah are ot and brit. And ot and brit are only for the Jewish people. Meharat ha-neshama me'abinah. Vehu mehalelat hakodesh. And a person who is doing that is mehalel hakodesh, means a Gentile that is learning Torah, or a Gentile that is Torah Sheba'al Peh, and a Gentile that he's allowed to learn things that are related to him, so he can have a connection with God. When we talk about Torah, we're talking about Torah Sheba'al Peh, and we're talking about things that have nothing to do with them. And then Shabbat is not for them. If they do, then they're mehalelat hakodesh. Okay. Let's do one more.
But they don't even know that they're doing that.
Open the book. Read it. Learn it. Don't just study Isaiah 53 and Isaiah 11 and Isaiah 7. Read the whole book. Read every verse in context. Read the entire the chapter before, the chapter afterwards. And don't be so ignorant about the rest of the Bible. Especially read from Ezekiel chapter 38 and on. How Christians read that and still think they could be Christians, I have no idea.
What about Jeremiah, don't take a tree in your house?
Forget about that. That's silly. How do they read Ezekiel? Ezekiel talks about the building of the third temple, and the second temple was nothing like that. What do they do with that? What do they do with the person who's called the Nasi, who happens to be the Mashiach that brings a sacrifice? Why would the Mashiach have to bring a sacrifice?
Oh, that he's supposed to be perfect.
Supposed to be perfect. He's God. Nonsense. Mashiach, when their second coming, which for us is the only coming, and it's not him, okay? Mashiach is going to bring a korban chatat. Why is he bringing a sin offering? Because he's a man.
But it's his sin.
He's not God.
But it's the same Mashiach
So he's
anyway.
bringing a lamb?
Yeah.
And they,
You never read Ezekiel?
Picture? No, from the back.
You got to read Ezekiel.
They
Chap-
think he's
start
the
at-
lamb.
Start at chapter 30 or 36 is where you want to start, because 36 basically said 36 basically says the only reason I'm taking you out of the exile is to restore my holy name, which you guys profaned. Okay? 36 is very tough against the Jewish people. 37 is the dry bones. And from 38 to 46 is the third temple. is the Mashiach bringing a sacrifice in the third temple? Okay, and he's called the Nasi. By the way, Yechezkel calls the Mashiach in other places Nasi, though they can't say it's a president. What's a president? Nasi means, what does the word Nasi in Hebrew mean?
Well, it matters.
Doesn't mean president. What does it
Head
mean?
of the Shevet.
It means someone who's
Also
lifted up.
raised up.
Someone's raised up. Mashiach is raised up vis-a-vis all the other Jewish people. Why? Because he's the king. The king is called Nasi. Okay? They got to read the entire book. If they hold that 23,500 verses are holy word of God, they have to read all of them, not just the ones that they read in church. Yes.
So essentially, are we saying we want everyone to be Jewish?
No. Not going to happen.
Follow the Noahide.
Never going to happen. We want people who have a Jewish, first of all, someone who again, we are open for customers. It's not like I'll say that all the time when someone will say, oh, I'm so jealous. You have all these holidays. Oh my God, you have Passover, 3 days here, 2 days here, 3 days here. I'm like, listen, first of all, I tell them, I hate to tell you, but we just kept the holidays that are in the Bible. You guys chose to leave some of those holidays behind. That was Paul. That's not, but I will let you know if you want to rejoin the team, we are taking members. Welcome, but no lobster and no shopping on Shabbat and all that kind of a lot you're going to have to give up. So I'm not sure you're ready for that, okay? Yeah, you want the days off, but you don't want to work, okay? But if you want to come join the team, we do take members. Oh, it's great. What's that? Oh, my gosh, I love it. I love it. They never take me up
No
on it
lobster,
either.
give him a dry cracker.
No lobster,
Why
that's
not?
it.
Sit
Oh,
through
but
a
I love
Seder.
lobster. Well, then you better stay where you are. Of course, they're still Jewish, but they're violating the Torah.
So what's their
Lashes.
casa?
Lashes.
Casa?
How soon? When the temple's built. Lashes.
And they get 40, right?
From energetic.
Don't put their bank.
No, it's real lashes. It's not energy. It's not. It's real lashes.
So when Mashiach comes, with some
Crack the whip.
people-
When Mashiach comes, people are not going to be. When Mashiach comes, Jews are not going to eat lobster anymore.
I'm not for lobster.
No, I'm just saying.
But
When Mashiach comes, they're not going to eat lobster. And halal Shabbat. That's all done. When it's inherently obvious that God is here and the King is in town, that's it.
Frankly, no free will.
That's no. There'll still be free will. There'll still be free will, but you're gonna have you're gonna want to be part of the juju. If you want to be part of the juju, Juju, right? You want to be part of that? No lobster. You have to be Shomer Shabbat. You're gonna have to learn. You have to go to mikveh. All the stuff you have to do. So right now, it's still the world of choice, right? There's still choice in the time of the Mashiach, but it's less choice because it's inherently obvious. And imagine the humiliation when a goy comes to a Jew and says, "You eating lobster? Why are you doing that? You're not allowed."
I've done that to people.
I mean, they would say, "I wish I could convert. I missed the boat. Now the ship has sailed. I can't convert, but you're eating lobster?" Oh, it's going to be an amazing world. It's going to be an amazing world.
The Goyim are going to give Torah to Jews.
No, I'm being facetious. No.
Well,
They're not going to need to give Torah to the Jews because the Jews are going to do the right thing. The ones who survive.
Oh, there's be a darkness plague.
Do you think that it's going to emulate like when the winds came in and God parted the sea? It's going to.
That depends on whether we deserve it or not. It can be with miracles or it can be not with miracles. So far, it's looking like it's not miracles, open miracles. All right, well, then we got to behave better. That means no more lobster. Not for you, of course, but for other people. No more lobster. I think it's a disgusting creature that if you've never eaten it, you're disgusted by it.
And I don't think anyone should eat the crabs. I've seen them walking. They look friendly.
I don't care if they're friendly or not friendly. They're not allowed. That's it. It's just simple. God says no, it's no. What's that? Exactly. I wouldn't, But anyway, let's continue. But we don't want to get not eating animals because you're allowed to eat animals. And Korban Pesach is the end of vegetarianism for all the vegetarians that are Jews. Comes time Passover and the Mashiach is here. There's no such thing as a vegetarian that night. That's for sure. 1 ounce of meat's going to have to be consumed. Otherwise, it's called karet. Who's gonna what?
Who's gonna be doing the cooking?
Whoever does the cooking does. It's roasting first of all. It's not cooking.
Well, it's one per household.
As a matter of fact, I knew it wasn't the women that did the roasting. It's the men did the roasting.
Women do the chef.
No. Women were busy doing other things. They were making the matzah. Yes. No more vegetarians.
Okay, so if you are circumcised but you don't eat the korban pesach, that's also correct. If you choose
Okay.
not to eat it,
If a person is uncircumcised, they're not allowed to have korban pesach. What they need to do is get circumcised and then do pesach sheni.
so but if you opt out of eating korban pesach,
There's no opting out.
you can opt out of doing tefillin.
There is no opting out. If a person opts out of korban pesach, it's called karet.
What if you opt out of?
If you opt out of tefillin, it's not karet.
Okay.
It's very bad, but it's not karet.
Okay, so why karet for?
Why karet for korban pesach? After 120 years, you can ask God that question.
Okay, so it's a different. Okay.
It's the equivalent of eating hametz on Pesach is the equivalent of not eating korban Pesach. Eating hametz on Pesach, the punishment is karet. Not eating korban Pesach on Pesach, the punishment is karet.
Unless you're not circumcised, or unless you're far away.
And if you're not circumcised, you get yourself circumcised, and then 30 days later, you eat korban Pesach. You have korban Pesach. That's exactly right. Why is there a makeup session? That's how grave korban Pesach is. It's the only example of a makeup. You miss Sukkah and Sukkot. Is there a makeup? There's no makeup. There's no makeup. Korban, there's no makeup for the matzah either. The makeup is korban Pesach because it's chamur. Now, of course, when you eat korban Pesach on the 14th of Nisan, it's al matzot merorim yichalu. So you have to have matzah and maror. The difference is the next day you can have a sandwich. It's only that when you're eating korban Pesach, you can't have chametz.
So ideally, in the future, you'll have Pesach Sheni with al matzot marorim.
Yes.
But you'll all be also.
Why would you need Pesach Sheni? The only way we need Pesach Sheni, first of all, no one's going to be
So far, what
uncircumcised.
blessing do they make on that?
The same blessing you make.
You won't make hamotzi because it's not real Pesach. You wouldn't make hamotzi. It's mezonot.
Okay, now you're coming to context because you have the wrong matzah. It's because you eat the crunchy matzah of the Ashkenazim. Because you eat the crunchy matzah of the Ashkenazim, therefore you have a problem, Pesach Sheni, because now in that you'd have to make hamotzi matzah there, because even though that's lechem oni. But at the end of the day, the problem is because you're eating crunchy matzah. Matzah is not crunchy. Matzah, original matzah, is not crunchy. So that type of matzah, that soft matzah, is hamotzi all year long.
Wait, for Sephardim?
The soft matzah that's for Sfaradim or Ashkenazim for that matter.
Hamotzi all year long.
It's hamotzi all year long.
I never had it outside that long.
All right, well, if you did, it's hamotzi.
Okay, so right now, Pesach Sheni, matzah, mezonot. Sephardim.
No. There's no more crunchy matzah. Everybody's going to have soft matzah. Stop it. Yes. No. Poor Ashkenazim. They have no clue. Maybe if I'm here Pesach, well, I'll show you what it looks like. No, I'm sorry. There's no going back. Once you have soft matzah, there's no going back. Okay, there's something called korech. What is korech? No, this is matzah that is you can eat for seder. You can't make a seder on matzah brai. Okay? What is the mitzvah of korech? What does the word korech mean? In Hebrew, what does korech mean? So if you go to a typical Ashkenaz seder, they'll say korech is a sandwich, right? It's a sandwich. You take the hard matzah, you put the maror, you put the charoset, you put the other matzah. It's a sandwich, right? No, it's not a sandwich. The word korech is wrap. A snake is korach al raglav. What does that mean? The snake is wrapped on your leg. So what is a korech? We call it nowadays a lafa. And think about it. What was korech? They take the matzah, they put Korban Pesach, they take matzah, the maror, mix it together, and it's a wrap. It's like a shwa. That's what korech is. It's not, okay, no tachinin, no hummus, no nothing like that, right? And not because of chametz, it's because it has to be just Korban Pesach, the lettuce, the romaine lettuce, and the matzah. That's it. That's called korech.
And liquid charoset, right? Essentially.
You dip it. Korech, which means it's a wrap. It's not a sandwich. Now, of course, if you have the hard, crunchy matzah, there's no wrap. Once you start wrapping, it starts breaking into 50,000 pieces. That's why they have to call it a sandwich. But really, it's not a sandwich. It's called korech. Korech is a wrap. All right. Let's do one more and then we'll stop, okay? Kope. Oh, no, two more. Hapriya hanaaset achar hamila ve'asod aleph daled nun yud yud ke vav ke, which is aleph daled nun yud, and yud ke vav ke is Elohim. Mivaer Rabbeinu shepriya hanaaset ba'ateret hayesod she keneged malchut, that the priya, which is done at the head of the yesod, yes, at the ateret, the crown, that's keneged malchut. The malchut is the keter, yes, it's keter malchut, yes, good. V'hi tzorech hamilah, and is a necessary ingredient of the Megillah. Because a person cannot approach the face of the king. The only way you can address the king is through the Malchut. Where do we see this in the Tefillah? Adonai sefatai tiftach ofia giti latecha. The only way you can come into the Shaare of the Tefillah, communicating with God, is through the feminine, through the Malchut. Yes? Okay. And that's why the Priya is what's needed. The Priya corresponds to the Malchut.
What corresponds to Binah? That's what the Priya.
No, the Priya is the Malchut. We'll get to it.
Okay.
K'moshe b'tfilah, no, that's the Lashon. Okay. K'moshe b'tfilah matchilim b'shem aleph daled nun yud. Now the rabbi is going back and say, just like in the Tfilah, we begin the Tfilah with Adonai sfatai tiftach afi agid tilatecha, the word aleph daled nun yud. V'lachen lifnei she'osim et habrit kedei liikanes lifnei hamelech. And therefore, when you do the brit, so that you can come before the king, ulkabel neshama v'yom hashemini, and to receive the neshama on the 8th day, tzarich la'avor yom Shabbat. There has to be Shabbat go before, except if they're born on Shabbat. That's interesting, right? Shi pnei hamelech hakala klula, and that's the pnei of the melech. The Shabbat is pnei hamelech. Just like it's written in the Sefer called Tolat Yaakov, in the Sod of the Milah, in the entire time that the Orah is still attached to the Brit. Pnei HaMelech Nistarim, the face of the king is hidden. Ubevad Shi'avor Yom HaShabbat, and only when the Shabbat passes by, Ki en lavo lifnei HaMelech ad shenimlachim ba'tchila, because you cannot approach the king before you address the feminine. Ki al yada nichnasim lerot pnei melech. Only through the feminine can you come in and see the king. All of the prophets, how did they see all of their prophecy? It's called aspaklaria. Aspaklaria is the malchut. All prophets, all of their visions, all of their communication with Hashem is through the Malchut. Yes?
What does that have to do with going over? A Shabbat has to pass.
Because Shabbat is the Malchut. They have to experience the Malchut before they can have the Brit Milah.
They have to experience the Malchut through Shabbat, and then on the 8th day,
They do the Milah.
Malchut.
That's correct.
Double Malchut.
That's correct. The Seder Aliyah Hazehu Sod Adonai Elohim. And the secret is Aleph Daled Nun Yud Elohim. Like explained in Parakeh, Heyot Hashem haniskar beseder Adonai Elohim ze sodat hitalot atzvirot v'itachadam zo bezo. So when you have Aleph Daled Nun Yud and Yud Kei Vav Kei read as Elohim, it's a connection between these two sfirot, the two feminine, the mother and the child and the daughter. Yes, the Ima and the Malchut, or Malchut Ila'a, Malchut Tata'a. What's Malchut Ila'a? That's the Binah. What's Malchut Tata'a? That's the Malchut. Yes? Okay. I did. We're repeating that because it's all helpful to repeat things. It's good because that's how we remember it, right? And the only way you do it, you want to attach yourself to the Or Elyon. The Or Elyon is from the upper Sfirot. The only way to do that is through the Malchut. Ki chukat Shem Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Hi lit alot lit achez b'sfirat habina hanikret havaya b'nikud Elohim. And the desire of the Sfirah of the Malchut is to rise up and connect to the Sfirah of the Binah. And that's Yud Kei Vav Kei, read as Elohim. Okay?
True.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more and then we'll stop. Nimtzet lamed shebrit milah doche Shabbat. We learned that Brit Milah pushes away the Shabbat, right? Simple answer is, why does Brit Milah push away the Shabbat? What's the simple from the Pshat? Ubayom hashemini yimo b'saro lato. The pasuk doesn't say. It says on the 8th day, whatever the 8th day is. If it's Shabbat, then it's pushed aside the Brit Milah, pushes aside the Shabbat. That's on the Pshat. But what about the Sod? Hatam shemilah doche Shabbat bi'era rekanati. The rekanati explain why Brit Milah is doche Shabbat. At any time you hear the Rakanati, what is that? Always going to be Sod. Parashat Lech Lecha. Bezel Shono. This is what he said in Parashat Lech Lecha. The Milah dochet Shabbat. Milah pushes away the Shabbat. Ki hi lamala min hakala haklula. Because the Shabbat is lamala, is above min hakala haklula. What is the kala? The bride is the Malchut. Yes? Why is it called kala? Why is she called kala?
It includes everything.
Kol, inside. Ba, everything's inside. That's the malchut. That's when she's at rest. Yes? When we have Yom Shkolo Shabbat. Im ken naaseh b'shmini k'dei sheta'avor alav Shabbat. Therefore, it's done on the 8th day. Why? Because there has to be a Shabbat in between. Ki en shmona below Shabbat. Because there's no way you can have 8 without having a 7 with a Shabbat. Rabbi Yoshua de Sachnin, b'shem Rabbi Levi Omer, Rabbi Yoshua de Sachnin, in the name of Rabbi Levi, said, Mashal HaMelech, it's going to give a mashal, it's going to give a parable. Melech, a king, shenichnas lemdina, that went to visit a certain place. Vehotzi karuz ve'amar, and he made an announcement and said, Achsanya sheyesh ba'ir lo yiru panai ad shiru pnei matrona techila. Whoever wants to house me, whoever wants me to be a guest in their house, I'm not going until my wife looks at the place first. Boy, does that sound familiar, huh? Baruch Hashem, my wife is hopefully going to see a house today. So you go look at it first. If you don't like it, there's no reason for me to look at it at all. If you like it, then I'll come see it. What's that? Yeah, I want to buy it here if I can find something that's not ridiculously expensive. Yeah. Why not? So you're going to wait longer? When the property taxes go away, price is going to go up.
Property might be going down.
Property taxes are going to go away. When
Yeah.
property taxes go away, price. Oh my God, you're not paying attention?
What's going on? How are they going to go away?
It's going to be on the ballot in November in Florida to vote whether you want to pay property taxes or not. Only a moron Mejnun would say yes.
I'm not that much room.
So if you're a homesteader, you're going to vote. You're going to say, okay, the renters will say we want to, and even the renters don't want to pay property taxes because you know what happens if the land actually, but the landlords are still going to have to pay property taxes. Only if the homestead, only people own a house, they're going to not pay property taxes. 2027 or 2028.
So who's going to take care of all the stuff that the taxes pay for?
This
Landscaping,
state has a surplus. This is not New York with a $16 billion deficit. There's a surplus here. So he's going to still charge 1.8% to all the landlords and all the people who have most people here have second homes. They live in other places, the second house. They're still paying property taxes.
They will still.
Yes, the ones who are not going to pay property taxes, the
Homestead.
You need
homesteader.
to
There you go. So forget it. You're going to take that right out of the equation. It's going to be the only state in the country with no property taxes and no state taxes. What? You didn't hear about this?
I know what this is. I know about the real estate, and I didn't know that.
And what's going to happen to prices when the property taxes go away?
go.
Oh, the housing?
Of course.
You got to compensate.
It's going to go up.
Let's
It's like
not
you look in
sell.
Boca Grove. They have beautiful houses in Boca Grove. But from a price point of view, they're lower than the same beautiful house someplace else. Why? Because you got to pay $180,000 to get into Boca Grove,
Yeah,
and then you have to pay $80,000 years to be $80,000 a year in order to be a member of Boca Grove, which means that the prices of the houses. And if you look at the Zillow, or you look at, there are a lot of houses available in Boca Grove, a lot. 600,000, 800,000, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, plenty of houses, more houses available in Boca Grove than Montoya Circle. Why is that? Because it's hard to sell them. Nobody wants to walk in and pay $180.
The premium.
Who wants that? So I can play golf? I don't play golf. No, I work. I don't play golf. Work, that's for retired people. I'm not retired.
Don't play either.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So what it does is it lowers the prices of the houses because you have to, again, it's smart because over the course of many years, once I buy, then that's property taxes are less, right? So if your average house in Boca Grove is cheaper, it costs less money, then you pay less property taxes. If property taxes go away, they're going to get slammed even worse. No one's touching a house there. Unless they got so much money, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, well, then they can have those people. I don't need to be around those people.
They're gonna come to the show. It's in walking distance.
They can walk here, that's great, but if they're going to live in Boca Grove, they're going to BJC.
Oh, there's a Orthodox synagogue next to that.
Of course, where are they going? It's right there. They're going to go convenient. I mean, if they're really Jewish, then they're going to certainly pass by one shul to go to one further away, because that means they're really Jewish, okay? A true Jew passes by 2 or 3 shuls before he gets to the one, because he can't pray anywhere else except for that one. Anyway, I'm just kidding. It's just, anyway, so continue on here. So the king comes into and he basically says, anyone who wants to house me first, the wife has to check it out. Smart guy. Kacha Mara Kadosh Baruch Hu leYisrael. This is what God said to the Jewish people. Banai, my sons, lo tavi'u lifanai korban, do not bring for me a sacrifice ad shetavor alav et Shabbat, until Shabbat passes by. Shabbat is the matronita. The Brit Milah is like a korban. Matron. She'en shiva below Shabbat. There's no shiva below Shabbat. Ve'en milah below Shabbat. Therefore, the Brit Milah has to happen on the 8th day. Why? Because there has to be a Shabbat in between. This way you go through the matronita first, and then you come to the Brit Milah. The kavanato. Let's go deeper. Kevan shemadrigat hamilah hi shmona dochet Shabbat shehi sheva. The Brit Milah pushes away the Shabbat. Why? Because Brit Milah is 8 and Shabbat is 7. Yes? The Chen Bier HaKli Yakar. The Kli Yakar said, Resh Tazria, the beginning of Parashat Tazria, where we have the pasuk Bayom HaShemini, Ki kol davar gashmi, anything that is material, Nofel Tachat Shiva, is underneath the 7. Ki kochve halechet, like the planets. There were 7, I guess that's what they were able to see. Yes, okay. The Shivat Yemei HaBreshit, and the 7 days of Breshit.
7 is nature.
7 is nature. Very good. The Chol Shmini Hu Ruchani, and every 8th is spiritual.
And overnight.
The Ha'arat HaNeshama Lidabek Be'or Melech Chaim, which is the shine of the Neshama to attach itself to the Orah Chaim. That, of course, is the Binah. Ki hi lamala meshiv'ah. She's above the 7. Ki mevu'ar beParashat Shmini, like it says in Parashat Shmini, Ki chol mispar sheva chol, every 7 is chol. V'amisaper shmona kodesh. V'amispar shmona kodesh. Everything 8 and above is holy. Where do we see that?
Meaning,
Where? Tell me what he's talking about here.
Brit Milah.
No, okay, we said that already. What's another example?
Hey, well,
What's another example?
yeah, really.
Nice. That's another example. That wasn't what I was thinking about, but that's a nice answer. What else is another? What else is 8?
I don't know if it's 8. You're right.
Hanukkah, very nice, Malateva. But here's the one the rabbi's talking about. Vayhi bayom hashemini kara Moshe le'aron ubanav uziknei Yisrael. What's going on there? Vayomer el Aaron kach lecha egel ben bakar lechatat de'ayil le'ola temimim ve'akrev lifnei Adonai. בני ישראל, תדבר להם כחוס עריזים על חטאת, ועגל וחבש בני שנה, תמימים לעולה, ושור ועיל לשלמים, לזבוח לפני אדוני ומנחה, ולא בשם כי היום אדוני נראה עליכם. What is talking about? The finishing of the Miluim. The Miluim was 7. That was the preparation.
And the 8th day was the first.
And the 8th day is the inauguration. So Vayhi Bayom Shemini is the beginning of the Mishkan. When why? When before the 7 days, it's all practice. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Kohen. He was showing Aharon and his sons how to do it. From the 8th day, Moshe Rabbeinu gets fired. And now Aharon and his sons are the Kohanim. Fired.
Hashem fires him
Fired.
for doing such a great job.
No, because he didn't want to see. It says he didn't want to see. How long did he fight against God by the sneh?
Oh.
7 days. So for every day, it's interesting. He fought against God to be the.
Said, don't take me.
Don't take me. So he got 7 days of Miluim, but from the 8th day, that's his brother. And what did he say? What did Moses say? Everything that Tzaddik says has to come out. He says, there's another person that's more worthy. Okay, not to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. I'm sorry, Moses, you're wrong about that. But now that you just said that, that means that your brother is going to be the Kohen.
If he wouldn't have said that, if he would have just agreed.
Then Moshe could have been the Kohen and the Melech.
When was that?
Sneh.
If God volunteers you for something, just take the job.
By the sneh, by the bush.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He already was a big, he decreed on himself that he was not going to be the Kohen.
No. He basically told God, pick somebody else. Is somebody more worthy? So God said, no, there's nobody more worthy to be taking the Jewish people out of Egypt. But now that you said that, Aaron is more worthy to be the Kohen. Because when the tzaddik says something, it has to have truth to it. So when Moses said there's somebody more worthy, it can't be that that Aaron is more worthy to take them out of Egypt. Otherwise, Moses wouldn't have been picked. It would have been Aaron. But when Moses said there's somebody more worthy, Hashem says, okay, you're right. Aaron's going to be the Kohen. And his sons, and not your sons. And it created a little difficulty. Because when Aaron died, how did he die? It's an amazing thing. Moses is told, your brother, it's time for him to exit. Time to go. Take Aaron, okay, and go with Elazar, his son, and go up on the mountain. And then what happens? I'm almost getting tears. Take off Aaron's clothing of the Kohen Gadol, put them on Elazar. And then you, Aaron, are going to die. Before Aaron dies, what does he see? Everybody dies. Until Mashiach comes, until after the Khatam, everybody dies. That's not optional. Aaron got to see his son take over for him. When Moses saw that, he was jealous for that type of death, which he did not have. Now, he had a different death. He was buried by God. So in some ways, that's even better.
All by himself.
But Moses never appointed his son to be the leader. Moses did not have the same, unlike Aaron, who Elazar was worthy to be Kohen Gadol. Moses' children were not worthy to be the leaders of Israel. It was Yoshua. So Moses, that death that Aaron had, even though Moses had in some ways a better death because God buried him, yes, but to be able to see your son take over for you, it says immediately Moses became desirous of that kind of that death, and he knew it wasn't going to happen. Wow.
That is profound.
It's profound. And there's another difference between the death of Moses and the death of Aaron. By Aaron, it says, everybody cried. By Moses, it says, by Moses, it doesn't say everybody cried. Yes. By Aaron, it says, Kol B'nai Yisrael. Because Aaron had this unique way of integrating himself with people in their own personal lives. He would go to their houses. He would find shalom. He would teach Torah. He would go to their houses. He was involved with them personally. Moses was a pulpit rabbi. He didn't go to people's houses. They came to him. Different personalities. Now, Moses had some advantages because Aaron failed at Chet HaEgel because he was a little too connected to the people. Right? And he lost 2 sons because of that. Nadav and Avihu right here. Okay?
That's part of the reason. Wow.
It says Lashmid. Lashmid. When Moses is bringing up in Parashat, I think it's Vayet Hanan, when he's talking about Chet HaEgel, Lashmid. Somewhere in Dvarim, he brings up Lashmid. The word En Hashmada Ela Babanim. So Moses recognized when God said Lashmid, meaning Aaron's sons were going to die. Moses prayed, so all 4 didn't die.
Wow, Hashem was thinking of the 4 of them?
Oh, yeah. Aaron caused them to make Chet HaEgel. He didn't cause it, I don't say that. He
agreed.
Didn't agree. He didn't object strongly enough. And he had good reasoning for it, because he didn't want them to kill him like they killed Hur. Now, okay, Avodah Zarah, what's the Yareg Val Yavor? That's the halacha. Why didn't he want to get killed? Not because he was afraid to die in Kiddush Hashem, because if they would kill Navi and Kohen on the same day, there's no restitution. Aharon was a Navi, and he was Kohen. Therefore, he knew that there was idea that the Jewish people would kill Navi and Kohen on the same day. There's no teshuvah. So therefore, he could not allow himself to die. So there's all like a lot of stuff here. But eventually to say, on the outside, it says Aharon made the egel. Asher asa Aharon. Even though he didn't make it, he didn't protest. Correct. So therefore, he was supposed to lose all 4. Instead, he only lost 2. And those 2 were killed because of their own mistakes. It wasn't just because of Aaron.
That was the Korah.
No. Korach. No. No.
I'm sorry. The foreign fire.
That wasn't the first time they made a mistake.
Wrong episode.
That was the last time they made a mistake. But because they repeated a mistake they made before, where they weren't punished, that's when they were punished. Where was the mistake they made before? Very good.
Last week's
parasha. What does it say?
They went up too close.
Vayal Moshe ve'Aaron and Nadav ve'Avihu b'shivir miziknei Yisrael. Vayir'u et Elohei Yisrael v'tachat raglav k'maaseh livnat ha'sapir u'chetzem ha'shamayim lo'Torah. Next. Ve'el atzilei b'nei Yisrael lo shalach yado v'yachezu et ha'Elohim v'yochelu v'yishtu. What does this mean? Ve'el atzilei, to the captains, to the leaders, to the nobles of Bnei Yisrael, lo shalach yado. What does shalach yado mean? Didn't? Inflict them. Shalach yado is death. Okay? Meaning they were supposed to die there. Why? Because they had a vision of God, vayochelu vayishtu. What does it mean, vayochelu vayishtu?
They got say ruach or something.
They ate and drank? They're having a sandwich. As they're having a vision of God, they're having a sandwich. That seems a little irreverent. What does it mean, vayochelu vayishtu? This is something I haven't seen anybody else say this. It's hard to imagine in 2,000 years no other rabbi has said this. So I'm going to give credit to whoever might have said it. That I don't remember seeing it anywhere, but maybe it's not mine. But it's a beautiful idea. What does it mean, vayochelu vayishtu? They ate and they drank.
Getting physical sustenance.
Moses. What does it say about Moses?
Didn't eat and drink for 40 days.
Arba'im yom lechem lo achalti u'mayim lo shatiti. Yes? Okay, so we understand Moses didn't eat and drink for 40 days times 3. Pshat. But there's a deeper meaning. What is achilah and what is shtiyah? Personal benefit. Personal benefit. Moses never derived personal benefit from her relationship with God. It was always on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Here, Nadav and Avihu got personal benefit. Vayochelu vayishtu means they got personal benefit from this position. They lost sight of the fact that the only reason they're there is because of Klal Yisrael, the father and Klal Yisrael. If it wasn't for Klal Yisrael, there's no Mishkan, there's no nothing, right? So they made the mistake here, which means they appreciated, they had pleasure and benefit from the vision of the Shekhinah that was personal. And that is dangerous for a prophet. That is dangerous for a man or woman of God. It's not about you. It's about the people.
Prophet cannot have a pleasure from.
No. It's all about the people that they're leading. They're people they're going to talk to. They can't experience that pleasure or focus on it. If they do, it's dangerous, very dangerous for them. So Nadav and Avihu over here, they enjoyed the pleasure of this closest to God. They lost sight of the fact that the only reason they're there is why? Because of the people. So by Parashat Shmini, what happens? They bring Esh Zara. What does that mean, Esh Zara? They had personal benefit. You repeated the mistake. That's when they died.
The first one, I didn't get it. The first one was with the
Chet HaEgel. No, not by the Egel. By Har Sinai. They went up. Moses, Aaron, the 70 elders, Nadav and Avihu. They went up to Har Sinai.
Yeah,
And it said they had a vision of God. And they ate and they drank.
was that a mistake?
The mistake is, I'm saying ate and drank doesn't just mean food. It means personal benefit. So they had a vision of God and they got personal benefit from that vision of God, not realizing that the only reason that they're at a level to get a vision of God is why? For the people. Unlike Moses, who always says over and over again, he didn't eat and didn't drink, meaning what? He never got personal satisfaction and pleasure from that connection with God. Isn't that heavy? All right, almost finished. Almost finished. Kihi lemala mishiva kimuvar b'parashat Shmini. We said that because the 8th is higher than the 7. We talked about that. The imken nir'ah lahem Hashem b'yom hashmini. Therefore, God appeared to them on the 8th day. The 7 days of the Miluim, God did not appear to them. Only on the 8th day, on the Chanukata Mishkan. Davka mitzad heyoto shmini miyuchad elav Hashem, because the Shmini is special to God. How do we know the Shmini is special to God? Now you can bring Shmini Atzeret. How is Shmini special to God?
Because the day with no other mitzvahs is only a separate day, just because.
That's why it's special to God, because there's no mitzvahs.
No, he wanted to be with us more.
That's the answer.
Okay, I'll quote the thing.
7
Yeah,
days
that's
is for the
what I mean.
Gentiles. 70 bulls, 70 Gentiles. Now that you're finished with the Gentiles, stay back with me. I want to have a private day. Tough for me. It's hard. Wow, it's hard for me when you're leaving. That's on the 8th day. Amazing. So we understand that the Shemini is to God is very close. The God is very close to the Shemini. And how do we understand that? The Chokhmah and the Binah are always together, which is connected to the Ein Sof. Yes? They're always in Zivug. There's never a separation between Chokhmah and Binah.
Never.
Yud K are always together, never separated.
What is you gave them was what?
We talked about that, okay? V'zeh tam ha-korban she'eino merutzeh. And this is the reason why a korban is not accepted. Ki im beyom hashmini v'hala, only from the 8th day and on, which means the first 7 days, when it was just practice, none of those korbanot were accepted.
They were practicing.
Practicing.
Were they burned?
They were burned, but they were not accepted.
Right,
The smoke didn't go where it needed to go. I have no idea.
Okay.
Practice.
Only from the 8th day.
It wasn't Rechnikov.
And that was Moshe.
And that was Aaron.
Aaron. Moshe did
וזה הטעם שמילה בשמיני דוחה שבת שבשביעי, כי הרוחני, because the ruchani will always overtake the gashmi. The spiritual will always overtake the physical, as long as the person exerts effort to have the physical be submission to the spiritual. If the person doesn't do it, then they're physical and there's no spiritual. But spiritual will always win if it's given the proper support. And the rabbi explained something else. I think it's the Kli Yakar still. Because in Milah there's also Priya. She keneged Ateret Yasod, that's vis-a-vis the Ateret, which is the crown of the Yasod. Sod Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, the feminine. So you can see the face of the king, which is the Zeranpin. You have to go through the Malchut. Therefore, Brit Milah pushed the Shabbat aside. Because the Brit Milah is the Shabbat. The Priya is the Shabbat. We talked about that. That's the Malchut. It's the same tikkun, the Brit Milah and the Shabbat. Besod Shamor ve'achar kach hamilah besod sod zachor. First is the Milah, which is the Shamor, and I'm sorry, the Besod Shamor ve'achar kach hamilah besod. So the Shabbat is the Shamor, and the Zachor is the Zachar is the Brit Milah.
And there's also Shamor and Zachor within Shabbat.
What's that?
There's also a Shamor and Zachor within Shabbat.
Correct.
Shmir Shabbat.
All right, we will stop here. Any questions? Baruch Adonai leolam, amen ve'amen.
Is your head about to explode?